doing globally, to also say that Africa, with special emphasis on West Africa, we're not left behind. We're not left behind. That to show you the interest that Zoom actually has for the West African market. So in today's meeting and today's conference, we're going to have different people present to us. You're just going to see what it is to work with Zoom. For partners, you're going to see what it means to work with Zoom. For some end users, you're also going to see the Zoom advantage. I mean, why you need to collaborate with Zoom at a time like this. So, by way of introduction, my name is Ifeanyi Edward Osoyemi, and I work as CEO of Proxynet Communications. We just want the Zoom team to quickly introduce themselves. And then some of us online, if you can quickly just say, introduce yourself before those that are present here at the hall will do. So I want to start from my left here. I'm going to start from Pamesh. Okay, just say a word to the people.
Yeah, good morning and welcome. My name is Pamesh, based out of Johannesburg in South Africa, responsible for Zoom in Southern Africa and for the growth of Zoom in Africa strategy.
Thank you, Pamesh. Let's meet Singh. Yes, Singh, let's hear you.
I'm sorry, good morning. My name is Harpriya and I'm an inside sales rep supporting Jean-Claude and Pramesh based out in Amsterdam.
Thank you. Let's see Chanel. Yes. Okay, well, she's probably, let's meet Caesar.
Good morning. Sorry, I cannot open my camera. My name is Cesar Camara, and I am based in Ivory Coast, Abidjan.
Okay, thank you, Cesar, for joining all the way from Abidjan. Excellent. Benedict, can we hear you?
Yeah, hello, good morning. My name is Benedict Ojefwa. I work with IHS Towers in Lagos, Nigeria. Great to be here.
Thank you, Benedict. The team from Triangle, Nigeria. Can we hear you? Triangle.
Hello, everyone. Pleased to be here. Kane representing Triangle.
All right. Triangle is the leading integration and audiovisual company in Nigeria. Okay, who's next? Mr. Obiaruko Ume.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I represent Network Planet Limited. Thank you.
Thank you. Who is next? Okay, Jean-Claude, can we just hear your beautiful baritone voice?
Hi, good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for taking the time to join us on our very first Zoomtopia for Nigeria. My name is Jean-Claude Kabeya, and I am representing Zoom, and I look after West Africa, East Africa, and the French-speaking Africa, as well as Central Africa. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jean. Can we get a response from John Williams? Johnny.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John. I represent distribution for Zoom from South Africa. I primarily look after all our partnerships throughout Africa, including Proxynet.
Thank you, Johnny. All right. Who again? All right, while others are going to join, while we wait for them to join, can we have the guys in the here now? Can we just find the microphone quickly? Let's know the companies that are here physically. Let's start from the first person that made it to this event.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Alice Wamidada from Allied Computers.
All right, thank you, Allied Computers. Okay.
Good morning, David Brown.
All right, David Arabo. Arabo, formerly BCX. Yeah, BCX. They just changed their name to Arabo now in Nigeria. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Olivia from MBM, Modern Business Machine.
All right. Olivia from Modern Business Machine, MBM. Okay. Let's get the next person.
Morning, everyone. My name is Dixon Anete from MBM.
Okay, Dixon Anete from MBM. Okay, so while we wait for the others to come in and join, we're just going to keep the stage and just begin our meeting. So the good news is that as they join us, we'll still try to rewind to things that must have been said. But more importantly, we're going to be rest assured that this event is being recorded. So at the end of the day, we're going to share the slides, share the recording with everyone, and you're going to see how you're going to benefit from this event. I promise you it's going to be short, simple, straight, but very beneficial. We're not going to take too much of your time. We will try to make sure we round up on or before 1 o'clock because we know that everyone has lots busy schedule. I mean, this is end of year. Everyone needs to meet up, close up sales, close up implementations, and all that. So I really appreciate you for taking out time from your busy schedule to be here this morning to attend this event. And I promise you, you won't regret. All right, so over now, I'm just going to invite Jean-Claude. I think you're ready now. You muted.
Yes, I am good to go. Yes.
Excellent. So let's welcome someone. Let me join in so that we can have a quick intro to the company joining. So again, John and Pamesh, just to let you know, a lot of people are going to be joining online, obviously because there is a wave now of the Omicron. So, we'll see how it goes. Okay, sorry, who just joined us? Kole Oyedeji. Kole, please, if you're there, just tell us where you are, the company you represent. Hello, Kole. Good morning. Kole, can you hear us? Okay, Jean-Claude, let's go on first and let's see how it goes. As you start, then we'll begin to do some more of the introduction. So Jean-Claude, over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Eric. And thank you for everyone who's joining physically as well as virtually or remotely. As I mentioned earlier on, my name is Jean-Claude. Most people call me JC, really, just a bit simpler, especially for the English-speaking people. I'm based out of Johannesburg, South Africa. And I do represent Zoom, as I mentioned earlier on, looking after Africa, West Africa, East Africa, as well as Central Africa. So today for me, essentially is my just over a month since I've been with the organization. And with absolute excitement, I came to actually make my decision to join Zoom. Just a little bit of background to myself. I've been around sales for just over 20 years, both direct and indirect. And I know on the call we have some partners and we also have some customers. So rest assured, you are in good hands. I've had the pleasure of selling multiple technologies in my past. I've had opportunity of driving the adoption of SAP across West Africa, and that was back in 2008, right? So that's quite a long time ago. And we had major successes in the banking, in the education, in the government, and I'm sure right now SAP is such a massive brand within Nigeria. So that's pretty much has been my was my introduction to the market. And then from there, I went on selling a lot of different technologies, from VMware to Cisco to Intel, etc. But here I am today representing Zoom. And you might ask yourself, why would I choose to work with a company such as Zoom? And that's the story that I'm sure you will grow to appreciate, and you'll pick up the sentiment from all the presenters on the call as far as what the culture of the organization that we do represent, as well as the product that has become essentially a verb into our daily vocabulary. I mean, when you go into a meeting, you say, I'm going onto Zoom, right? I have 2 children, and that actually are in school. And this year in 2010, in light of COVID, these guys have had to do the entire year remotely, essentially, connecting to classes via Zoom, and meeting all these amazing people online, the students from all over the world. So Zoom has been a massive power into my personal life in keeping my kids safe at home while they get educated. And needless to say that the level of growth that kids actually, pick up when they become responsible and driving a technology. My son was 8 years old. I must be honest, since before joining Zoom, he knew Zoom more than I did. And he has never had the opportunity to go and do a Zoom class or anything of that nature. So it's quite amazing. I mean, it's the technology that we represent is such a simple technology that anyone can actually pick up and run with it. I mean, quick question, everyone on the call or in the room, when was the last time you actually bought a new mobile phone and you went to get a class to get to use that mobile phone, to learn how to use that mobile phone? The chances are not. And if anyone has actually had to sign up for a class to use a mobile phone, then I think we need to take a few steps back, Edred. We need to say a couple of prayers, because I don't think that is possible. So with that, it brings to light what Zoom is all about, a technology that is absolutely simple to use, palatable, and that you can actually assimilate into your daily life, and it's become such an indispensable tool, especially for myself here, at home, for my kids, and for myself as well, from a business point of view. I will encourage you to stick around during this, sessions that we're going to share with you, because there's a lot to gain out of it. We've got a couple of prizes that we would love to give away at the end, so please do stick around with us. With that, I'm just gonna carry on with my presentation, and please, if there's any questions you do have, please just put it in chat. Our teams are looking at it, and we'll get to answer. So, as I mentioned earlier on, Zoom has become pretty much as a household name. It's so part of our lives, and it makes so much sense that it allows us to connect, whether it's from a business point of view, whether it's from a personal point of view. It's just become that linkage that we've come to so appreciate in terms of communicating. And when I first, heard about Zoom the first time, I was like, oh, okay, right, Zoom, just another product. It reminds me of my days back in 2006 when I was at Cisco, and we were selling WebEx at the time. And and coming across Zoom, I thought, okay, it's just one of those, product. There's a whole bunch of them into the market. Some of them are even free of charge, etc., etc. But then something told me, no, hold on a second. Look into this particular product, especially in light of the modern life that we're living. And by saying that, I'm talking about COVID, for example. I mean, COVID has brought so much questions to everyone's daily operation, essentially putting us in a position whereby we have to question, why do we do what we do, and do we do it? So for me, I had to take a moment and look into Zoom as a product and understand the messaging behind this company, and understand the trajectory where this company is actually going. And at the when I was contemplating Zoom as an opportunity, I had just finished delivering 4 key processes for MTN Ghana within the contact center space. while I was doing that, finishing off that project, signing it off, which has been signed off quite successfully, those who are in Ghana would potentially, notice a lot of automation that happens when it comes down to credit dispute if your mobile carrier, for example. So anyway, I sidetracked there. So I took my time to actually think about the potential of this technology that we do have in multiple environments. So at the end of the day, I've come to realize there's more to Zoom than just a Zoom meeting. Zoom meetings is a superb product that is our core product, but it made me rethink and think a little bit out of the box to say, in which other environment does this technology make sense? Zoom as a product has got the opportunity to bring you closer to your daily activity in a way that you become so much more infused and stitched and wrap yourself around your daily activity and be able to communicate in the most user-friendly way possible. And I hope we can share that light in the presentation today. Also, from a thought leadership point of view, we are heading towards a transformative, phase as a company, in the sense that we've got a lot of exciting, innovation that are coming forward, especially next year, that will come to bring so much relevance to multiple industries in terms of the product that we are coming up with, and not to take a lot of details out of the day to come, but I think my colleague Parmesh will be able to cover a little bit more of that in details. So, as a company, we've got a lot to show for. We've got presence in multiple geographies. Parmesh and myself, based out of Johannesburg, South Africa. Parmesh has done an amazing work for Zoom in Africa, being the first, Zoom individual to actually spearhead the growth in this continent. And since then, the organization has been investing massively, and you will see in the next coming weeks and at least days and weeks how many people that are available to assist you, whether you're a customer, whether you're a partner, to help you unlock that that factor that we call happiness, because we believe our technology brings that kind of happiness. So when you have Zoom, you don't expect to be to be stressed out in the way that you have to communicate. So we've had a lot of penetration across multiple industries, across multiple verticals. These are some of the key customers that we do have, at least within the America. But if you're looking from an African construct point of view, we've been able to attract the banks. We've been able to attract the massive organizations such as the UN, the African unions. We've been able to attract a lot of financials. Pretty much every single industry, right, within Africa as well. And if you are interested in finding out as far as where we've been able to deliver that happiness or that success, please just reach out to us and be able to share some of those, success use cases. The 70% of the Fortune 500 companies are running Zoom.
Wow.
I don't even need to add too much, to that. So it's absolutely critical for me personally to do this product justice into the market, and hence the reason why I am here, and that's the reason why, together with our partners and our distributors, we are able to actually bring this excitement to you, to say, hey, there is something to look forward to, and we need your attention on this particular journey. The details goes on in terms of the type and the caliber of the companies that you've been able to attract into the market. This presentation will be shared with you, so you can have the time to go through it. And should you have any questions, just feel free and get to us and be able to help you. Zoom makes a lot of sense within the governmental space, within the educational space. I mean, as I mentioned, personally speaking, in South Africa, in light of COVID, and I'm sure most of you think we are the originators of COVID at this point in time, but I assure you not. And I do believe that our technology is so much more relevant in terms of our education sectors. Even within the judiciary, there are countries that actually are having court proceedings via Zoom as an acceptable means. Medical is another area where customers are benefiting from. So what am I trying to to bring to you and to your attention today is that, there is a change that is coming. In the past 2 years, we've been able to be forced into a change scenarios that no one of us has been able to escape. Now, the other phase of that scenario is coming up, right? So the first 2 years and up to now, most countries were either on severe lockdown or they're in relaxed, lockdown measures in order to counter COVID. And during the time of COVID, we saw the most amazing growth in the company because the product became so relevant that anyone out there could literally download it and use it and be able to communicate with their loved ones. I mean, in South Africa, at one point in time, we could not go outside unless you are going to the hospital or you are going to a pharmacy, for example, or you got emergency, shopping of a nature. You could not go outside. So Zoom became a super relevant technology. Now, looking forward, most organizations, they are preparing at reopening office spaces, right? With that brings its own complexity as well. So now how do you migrate, the capacity? How do you migrate the workload? How do you migrate the efforts back into the building in the safest way possible? At the same time, there are certain people that don't necessarily look forward to heading back into the workspace. And it could be certain countries that actually do not permit, return to work as such. So how do we manage that hybrid working environment? And in making sure that the employees are happy and making sure that the quality of work and services that you provide is spot on and making sure that your organization remain trusted within the market. That's why we believe that Zoom becomes even more important because most organizations with multiple geographies will have to remain, open-minded into having a hybrid working environment whereby people can work comfortably and be able to deliver. Because with that, it is believed that when you give your employees a flexible working environment, you become more productive. I would love to speak for myself because I used to think, working from home, you get distracted and you walk after the time in front of your TV, after the time in front of the fridge, whatever it might be, that the reality is that I find myself obviously being happy to work in my own space, and I'm really hoping for you is the same. But I find myself happy to work within my space. At the same time, I find myself being incredibly productive because I am able to merge this work and life, balance scenario all together. And most people have encountered that kind of productivity because you are much more closer to your work. There's no disruption in terms of having to get into your car and drive here and there, At the click of a button, you are anywhere around the world. So that's the power that Zoom has brought. And this is a testimony into the market that, a percentage of top performers increased from 19 points to 55 points. So most organizations actually, they're like, wait a minute, do we really have to go back to the office? Because the guys are actually super, productive. And Zoom is a tool set, as my colleague will touch on later on, it gives you such a sense of presence in terms of who you are, where you are, what you're doing. And I know exactly how to engage with you. When you're in a meeting, I know you're in the meeting. When you're on a call, when you're presenting, Zoom can give you those kind of status, update for you to know exactly when to speak to the next person or not. As I mentioned earlier on, most people know, Zoom meetings, an incredible tool that we've come to love, appreciate, and adopt into our daily lives. But there's a lot more to Zoom than just, Zoom meeting. Whether you're working from your home office or you're working from office space, you can still benefit of this technology. The beautiful thing about our technology is that it is absolutely agnostic in the sense that it does not matter which device, which form factor you are utilizing. Our product is able to mold and shape itself to your tools and be able to calibrate, the delivery of whether it's the voice or whether the video in order to fit your bandwidth and to fit your form factor usage. So very, very critical. Now, when we look at the story of Zoom, it's that of leveraging such growth that we've come to see in the market and making it relevant for our today, our business or work or life. So if you think of, communication as such, there's either a voice or there is a video, right? And we can see that there's been a lot of advancement. I remember my first job ever, straight out of high school. I took on a part-time job, and the part-time job for me was to manage essentially the core system, at least the PBX system of a specific company. My job was to make sure that, the routing of the trunk lines and everything is aligned, the billing and all those kind of stuff. So when you think about it, we've come from the days of, sort of your PBX days, and then we moved on to IPBX, and then we moved to the cloud PBX. And if you want to look at voice, remembering my days at Cisco, started with audio conferencing, moved on to video conferencing, and then cloud conferencing. Now, what makes Zoom so particular is that we have been able to leverage all these, steps that have happened down in history to the point whereby we're delivering a solution that is so much more agile and that is so much more practical, which is build cloud first with user in mind, in the sense that there is no really requirement for any technicalities. There's no requirement to know ABCD. As I mentioned earlier, no one really goes to learn how to use a mobile phone by signing up on a class. The same thing with Zoom. So being able to leverage all these, journey that we've encountered in terms of developing the voice and the video communication in the most effective way. This is a very important slide that my colleague will spend a lot of time on it, but just to entice you a little bit more, there's so much more to Zoom in terms of what you can use for, for communication as a platform, or what you can use for conferencing. And also, how do you actually extend Zoom into your daily application? How can you embed Zoom into your daily application that you utilize? How can you fire off Zoom from an SAP application, for example? So there's so much flexibility that we give you, and we'll find out on that very, very shortly. As a technology, we make sure that, privacy and security is something that is met with, in making sure that it's in line with all the requirement, the certification that are required globally. We make sure that we give you a platform that is scalable. And the beautiful thing about Zoom is such a modular platform that you can be able to buy what you need Zoom for, right? But the beautiful thing is that once you buy more than one module of Zoom, all those modules, they sit on one pane of glass on one platform. So it's the same look and feel, and there's nothing different to it. It's just an addition to what you currently have. So why Zoom? I think one of the things that attracted me to Zoom is its view to the market, right? And how it values customer, its philosophy, vis-a-vis the customer. And we have an amazing CEO who believes strongly in delivering the right product for the people and making sure that every single customer is happy. We're talking about an individual who will pick up a phone today and call you in Nigeria if you are unhappy about something. Absolutely amazing. I've come to be blown away in terms of understanding the culture that this organization does present. We've had a number of recognition into the market. Eric was actually recognized as a Business Person of the Year in 2020, which is absolutely amazing. We are climbing, the Gartner, and we are a leader in the quadrants. And from next year onward, and I ask you to stay tuned in terms of what we're bringing forward. It's something that is absolutely going to change, the market. So you can say, hey, wait a minute. I already have Microsoft, Office 360, and I've got, the product that comes with it for free, etc., etc. But one thing I wanted to make you aware of, the time that I've spent into the market, at least if I can speak humbly about it, is that most companies grow through acquisitions. most companies don't necessarily grow through their own DNA. Zoom as an application or as a platform, we are focused on one thing and one thing only. We're not selling you anything as an attach rate to another technology. Everything that we bring before you is for that particular purpose, which is Zoom as a platform. If we look at Microsoft, for example, Teams is essentially a product that is actually an attached product to Office 365, for example. It's not necessarily a co-product. We provide you with a platform, and the platform that we give you is what we are there for, and that's what defines us into the market. The same thing would apply, with Cisco, for example. There's a myriad of product that exists within their portfolio, and WebEx is just one of them, right? So for us, again, it's demonstrate that focus, that zero-minded focus onto delivering the best voice and the video quality that you do require, and being able to fire that off from anywhere, around the world. It's also important to mention that the strength of any platform, it is less of complexity, right? The lesser the complex the product is, the better. Also, the smaller the footprint the product has, it's better. Zoom as a product is such a small footprint product in terms of its size, for example. It just makes it much more easier, to actually fire up and so on and so forth. And also, it's so much simple to be able to get to install into environment. I mean, like I said, my kids learned how to use Zoom by themselves, right? So when it comes down to our product, you download, you install it, you're good to go. Even applying your actual perpetual license, at least your subscription license, it's as simple as that as well. I think there we go. So again, I'm just highlighting again, the level of complexity. We have no hardware dependence. We work with almost, all the hardwares out there that are capable, but we obviously have specific partnership that we can actually bring to your, to your attention. The tool is super easy to deploy, super easy to manage, and at the end of the day, there is no limitation when it comes down to mobility. So for those that are in a room, as far as channel is concerned, we are a super focused organization on channel. Personally, I've had that passion of seeing, an organization such as Zoom being in a position whereby they can build and attract the best of breed of partners to be able to help them go to the market. We cannot achieve success in Nigeria or West Africa by going directly in ourselves. That's why on the call today, we have our partner who has not spoken much about themselves, but I'm sure they will. We have our distributor on the call as well. And together, we form a formidable team to be able to, whether you're a partner, whether you're a customer, to be able to, to have the best experience with our technology. And to become a partner is very, very simple. We can obviously be able to share more details on that through our distributor on the call. But just to finish off my presentation, it doesn't matter what industry your customer is, doesn't matter which industry you are in, Zoom is a communication platform. And we have a product that is suitable and that should be indispensable for your organization in order to communicate seamlessly and easily. So my last slide is around, like as I mentioned, if you stick around until the end of the presentation, there's a couple of prizes that we'd like to give out. We have a couple of licenses, real full licenses, at least on a trial basis, that we like to give out by the end of this day. I will encourage you to participate, ask as many questions as you want in chat, engage us, and at the end we will be in a position to decide who actually has managed to crack one of these prizes. With that, brings me to the end of my presentation, and I would like to thank you so much for listening. And I also would like to ask you if you've got any questions, you can just post them in chat, and the whole team from our partners and our distribution company will be able to to answer those questions for you. So that's me presenting to you the overview for Zoom, as well as the direction that we are taking as a company.
All right. Thank you so much, JC. Thank you so much for that beautiful presentation. I'm sure we'll heard it and we'll learn something. But before we go into any questions anyone physically here might have or remotely, a lot of us introduced ourselves when we started. We just want to recognize those that have joined us again here. So let's just bring up the microphone to those physically. Let's know the companies that are here very quickly. Let us know, so that will be able to let us know exactly what the message was across.
Good morning, good thing I do. I'm the portfolio of surveillance management system.
Okay, tell me that. All right, nice. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the Dr. Olariwaju. I represent Associated Technologies.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeremy Fakola. I was a big group.
Okay, yes. So our big group is the distributors for Polycom or Poly now for West Africa. Also big, yeah, okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Victor.
So I didn't get that. ECN, okay, nice. ECN, okay, nice. Welcome. Okay, can we have those online? I can see share song and title. Just few of you, because of time, let us know who. Loretta, I can see Loretta. So let us say hi to everyone.
Good morning, everyone. This is Sheson of 9PSV.
All right.
Online with you guys.
We can't see your face. If you can not see your face, just for a second, I mean, it doesn't hurt.
Actually, I'm in the middle of a lot of stuff, so I just have to multitask right now.
Okay, all right, no problem.
I needed to attend to a lot of things.
All right, no problem.
Thanks a lot.
Let's hear Kule. Can we hear this? Kule,
hello.
Yeah,
hello. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. My name is Kunle Ebiji from Exprocom Networks.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Loretta. Again. Okay, what else is putting? Taji, T-A-J-I. I'm not sure the company. Then Ijoma, I'm not sure the company. I know. Okay. All right, so while they're putting themselves together, sometimes you don't want to say anything. Maybe.
Hello, good morning.
Okay, good. Emmanuel, okay, good. Emmanuel.
Good morning. My name is Emmanuel Oyelaki. I'm happy to be part of this meeting. I actually plan to be here physically this morning, but there is a restriction on the island with the coming to Lagos of Mr. So it's making movement a little difficult, which is why I'm only able to join online. But I would have loved to be there physically, but I'll be following the proceedings of the meeting today. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, because of the challenge in Lagos today, yes, fine. I mean, the most important thing is join online, join anywhere. That's why we have a Zoom meeting. So join anywhere. I'm part of the success story. It's all about Zoom, so it's fine. It's okay. All right. Okay. This is Taji Obey from Nigerian Gas Association. Apologies, can't speak at the moment. No problem. Just listen. While we can't speak, just listen. That's okay.
Say to me, Loretta.
Okay, Loretta.
Says she's stuck.
You can't speak at the moment. No problem. Just listen. I know sometimes people might be in some funny places, so you wouldn't want us to see where you are, but it's okay. Just listen. It doesn't really matter. That's the essence of the Zoom meeting. All right. Okay, good. Okay, so we all had JC's presentation, right? Yes. Well, listen, didn't we?
Yes.
Okay, do you have any questions, around his presentation? If we don't, we quickly go straight on to listen to Pamesh. Pamesh, I'm sure you'll be the next to present, am I right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, just a second before you give the room, just a second. Tomini, John joined us. Tomini, can you say hi to the group? Hello? Okay, so let's move on while, okay.
Precious and somewhat.
Precious and somewhat to everyone. See. Hold on. See. That's a short, that's a string of C.
Hello, good morning.
Sorry?
Okay, Precious is starting.
Precious, okay,
Good morning. Yeah, good morning. Good morning to everyone. Sorry, that was a mistake typing. That was a typing error.
Okay, I was almost getting confused.
Yeah, no, because a mistake typing. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm representing Network Planet Limited.
Network Planet, all right, thanks. Thanks for joining. Uchenna Okafor, IHO. Uchenna, can you say hi to us? All right, this is from Kwam Olumebo to everyone. I'm Olumide. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you. It's also a pleasure to have you. You know, the essence of this conference is not just it's Zoomtopia, that's what it is. So what we're doing, we're interacting, getting to know ourselves and see how we can do this business and grow the Zoom business in this region. Trust me, for resellers, lots of money to be made. For end users, lots of value to get through. Okay, all right. Pamesh, we want to welcome Pamesh now to just give us his own presentation. Pamesh, you're going to spend like an hour thereabouts?
Not really. I'm going to spend probably 30 to 40 minutes, but I'm going to be open for questions, so we should be good.
Oh, okay, good. Why I'm saying so is because if you have all the time to really drive in the Zoom message. I mean into the people here. All right. So Pamesh, welcome you again. Pamesh, it would be nice if you introduce yourself again for those of us that were not available when the meeting started, so they know who you are, and then we can also float together. All right. Thank you, Pamesh. Welcome.
Perfect. Thank you. And thank you again, Edward. And thank you to the Proxynet team for allowing us the opportunity. Thank you to all those attending both virtually and in person. We know that it's trying times at the moment, but we really appreciate the fact that you've taken the time to listen to us today. So my name is Pamesh. I'm an employee of Zoom. I've been with Zoom for about 18 months now, and I was the first Zoom employee for Africa. Some of you that joined a bit late, if you haven't heard, JC is also part of the team. So JC and myself and the distribution partners who will chat to you a bit later are all responsible for Zoom from an African perspective. JC and I are both based out of South Africa. Some background about me, you know, and I think JC's act's going to be a hard act to follow. I think he was really good this morning, so I'm gonna try everything to see you know, how I can you know, stick to that. So I've been with Zoom, like I said to you, for about 18 months. Again, you know, like JC, I thought real strong and hard about why would I want to join Zoom. For those that don't know me, I've been in the unified comms space for over 23 years. I started my career many years ago at Dimension Data across various different roles. I then joined an organization called Poly out of the US, and I ran their UC and growth strategy within Africa. I then moved on to British Telecoms, where I spent 5 years doing their growth strategy within Africa as well, and looked after their UC portfolio, which was very much cloud services. So I've touched on you know, Microsoft, and I've touched on Cisco, and I've touched on other technologies that were out there. So some background: I love unified comms. I'm passionate about unified comms. I could not see myself anywhere else, to be honest with you. And when Zoom approached me, I felt it was the right place to be. I felt that I'd love to be the beginning of, a start for Africa. So again, I started 18 months ago. It was just me. Subsequently, JC has come on board. We've also hired a channel manager who was unable to make this meeting today. And at the beginning of January, we've also got what we call a sales engineer that's starting. And he's going to help JC, Inga, and myself around any technical questions that you may have, either like from a direct end user perspective or via the channel, right? So I think what the point I wanted to make is I'm passionate about this technology. I believe it's the right place for us. I believe there's growth on the continent. And you can already see by, just being one person 18 months ago to the growth that we're now 4 people, and we're hoping to continue the growth within the region, not just within South Africa, but within Nigeria and other regions as well. Okay. So JC's covered some of this, but I'm going to give you guys just a bit more information around who we are, what we do, and where we come from, right? So really what Zoom started, its platform on was the first little ring that you see here, which is our meetings platform, right? Meetings, everybody believes that meetings is free. I can use Zoom today. Why should I pay for Zoom? What's the benefit of paying for Zoom? And that's some of the stuff I'm going to cover today. So firstly, Zoom is not free. There is a paid version. Meetings comes in 4 or 5 different license types. Okay, so for you that's a consumer of the product, for you that's an enterprise or a business, I'm going to speak to how you use it within a business, how you use it within an enterprise. Yes, there is a free version available, but the reason there's a free version available is we, during the pandemic, want to ensure that there was business continuity globally. We know we've got a global workforces. We know all of those things, and the free version comes with a whole lot of limitations. For example, it's limited to 40 minutes. You can't do things like branding. You can't do things like integration into Active Directory. You can do as many one-on-one calls, but you can't do multiple calls up to a certain capacity. So there are some limitations around the free version, but it's still available today, okay? Then what we've gone and done is we've gone and broken up the license model into 3 or 4 different license types. Okay, the first version is what we call the pro version. The second version is what we call the business version. We've then got an enterprise version. And then finally, we've got what we call an education license specific version. Okay, now what are the differences between this license type? Essentially, the differences are things like the capacity of a meeting. So for example, a business version of the license can give you the capacity of 300 people joining a particular meeting, whereas the enterprise version can give you up to 500 people joining, a meeting, essentially. Things like branding. So where your company wants to have its own branding. For example, if you want to have Proxynet at Zoom.net, you absolutely can do that. That's what we call vanity URL. You can do things like single sign-on integration into your calendaring tool. So if you're a Google customer, either an Outlook customer, you can then do all that with our business license and our enterprise license. Okay. Also with that, depending on how you as an organization buys a license. So if you buy 1 to 9 licenses, you would typically buy the pro version. If you buy anything from 10 licenses up to 100 licenses, you would typically buy the business version. And if you buy anything from 50 licenses up, you will buy an enterprise version. On that point, enterprise licenses can be bought in 2 types of license models, essentially. You got what we call a named user. And a named user means that you buy a license for an individual within your organization. But however, we've got what we call an active host model. And an active host model states the following, that you can buy licenses for your entire organization, but we only bill you for 20% of the licenses that you use within your organization, and then we do a true up in year two of your licenses. Okay, so we've got different models available for different organizations. We're very flexible. We're the only platform where you can buy a monthly license subscription. None of our competitors can do monthly. There's also an ability to do quarterly, and most organizations don't do quarterly either. But I think, you know, the biggest benefit is by buying an annual subscription, because with an annual subscription, you buy a full 12 months, but you actually only end up paying for 10 months. And that's across all our license models. Okay, so that's on our on our meeting side. To add to what we can do on the meeting side, you can add different modules to our licensing module. For example, if you bought a business license package, but you want to increase the license capacity, you can buy what we call large meetings, and you can buy large meeting 500, or you can buy a large meeting 1000, and that's to increase the capacity size of a particular meeting. So as you know, JC said earlier in his conversation, we're quite modular in the way we sell our licenses. And the good part is that, you know, if you bought a license, you're typically up and running almost immediately. Now, we know organizations, you know, might want to buy tens of thousands of licenses or thousands of licenses in that instance. But also with that, we're pretty flexible in how quick we can deliver those licenses to our customers. An example is, you know, we could deliver 1,000 licenses to you in 4 hours, typically. So we're quite agile. We're quite, you know, quick in our ability to deliver. And that in itself makes us very different from what our competitors can do, okay? Is our ability to deliver licenses very quick, very fast, and very agile, okay? So that's on the meetings part. On the chats part, very simple. Chat is the ability to do chat in multiple ways, okay? So the first way of being able to do chat is really, you want to talk to somebody within your organization, you see their status. They could set their status to busy. They could set their status to in a meeting. They could set their status to out of office, all of those type of things. Green means I'm available. Red means I'm not available. Orange means I'm busy doing something else. So chat is standard and free as part of meetings. It is a feature that can be switched on. It is a feature that can be switched off depending on your organization, but you can absolutely chat to anybody in your organization by a click of the chat icon and the ability to chat to them. But what we are also able to do is you are able to do multiple chat groups, or what we call chat channels within Zoom. So an example is within Zoom, we've got a channel for everything that we do in Zoom. We've got a chat channel for finance. We've got a channel for sales. We've got multiple channels for anything that you see on my screen. So we've got a channel for meetings. We've got a channel for chat. We've got a channel for audio. Now that allows us as an organization to execute faster, okay? So there's no need to send an email, hope that somebody reads that email and come back to you 7 hours later, 2 days later, 3 days later. With chat, because there are multi people within the chat group, you almost instantaneously get a response from somebody within that group, okay? It could be an expert within that group. It could be one of your colleagues. It could be anything else. So our ability to be able to get answers is quick and is easy within the chat, within the chat functionality available within meetings. Okay, so that's part 2 of what we do. Part 3 of what we do is what we call audio conferencing. Now, there are 2 parts to our audio conferencing platform. Part 1 is very simple. Part 1, if anybody is unable to join a Zoom meeting like you've joined now, either via a room or via a meeting license, essentially, or via web URL, the many ways that you can join a Zoom meeting today is you can join via audio. You pick up a telephone, you pick up your mobile phone, you dial a local number in most countries, including numbers in Nigeria. We've got toll-free numbers available. We've got local numbers available, and you are still able to join the Zoom meeting that we're having today. You won't come in over video, but you will come in over audio, and you will be able to ask questions, and you will be able to do anything else without the video component, okay? The second part to the way we deliver audio is if you have got an audio conferencing platform within your organization and meetings is not something you want to do, we can put together a solution that helps deliver an audio conferencing platform over the internet into your organization. That is things like, pay as you go, dedicated numbers, toll-free numbers available for your organization, and stuff like that within a country, which is not free, which is a separate licensing that we do altogether. So there is the free part that's audio allowed into normal meetings, and then there's a paid part when you want a tailor-made audio conferencing solution for your organization. So what you are seeing already is exactly what JC, spoke about earlier on, is that we are a single platform. You're able to join this platform using multiple different ways, and you don't need to leave the single platform to be able to do different things within Zoom. One platform, one application for everything that we offer organizations today. Okay. I'm going to skip phone quickly. I know it's in the middle of my screen, but I'm going to skip that for a second because I'm going to cover that in the next slide as well. I'm going to go on to webinars. Webinars, very simple. What we're doing today is what we call a meeting, two-way audio, two-way video. The difference between meetings and webinars is that meetings is limited to 1,000 users, no matter which license type you buy. However, webinars can scale anything from 500 user type participant webinars up to a 50,000 participant webinars. Now we don't just offer webinars, we offer something new in that space as well. We offer what we call events. Okay, so there's a slight difference between what a webinar can do and what an event can do. And we're going to go into a lot more detail around webinars and events later on. There's going to be a live demo about how we use a webinar, how we use events, and how we use all of those things. So I'm not going to steal Johnny and the team's thunder. They will cover that in detail a bit later. But just some stuff about webinars. Webinars is really one-way audio, one-way video. Anybody you invite as a host and a co-host only comes in over video, but any participants only comes in over audio and is only able to ask questions over chat. Okay. Again, webinars come in over from 500 up to 50,000, and events is exactly the same. Okay. Another thing about webinars very quickly is that if you do not want to host a webinar yourself, we offer professional services around hosting those webinars, hosting those events on your behalf. So if your organization wants to do a particular event, we can offer professional services on the back of events. If your organization offers video conferencing to its customers, offers teleconference to its customers, you can then use the webinar of a means of, you doing the professional services on behalf of Zoom, and that's something where you could, turn into a monetary value if you're a reseller of Zoom, essentially, in the country. Okay. Zoom rooms, very simple. What you're sitting in today is what we call a Zoom room. Okay, and we do Zoom rooms in one of two ways. We do what we call native, and today you are dialed in with a native Logitech unit into our meeting. It's that simple. We want to create that hybrid way of working. Option one is you join like you've joined now via your desktop or your mobile phone or any other device that you may have. Option two is that you join from a room, or you join from a boardroom, a meeting room, an auditorium where you've got large capacities. Now, in the Zoom room space, we have got multiple partners. Okay, we have got partners like Poly. We've got partners like Logitech. We've got other partners called Neat, called D10. So we're very open to the amount of equipment you can use as an organization within your organization. All right. We are not in the hardware game as Zoom. We only merely provide the license to enable an endpoint to join a Zoom call. Okay, that part of the hardware that you want to use is something that you can discuss with Proxynet. I know they have multiple partners in that space. They do boardroom solutions for you. So that is where they would come in and they would assist you around a hybrid strategy, a boardroom strategy, and all of those types of things. For those of you that already have video conferencing today, we have what we call a CRC that enables traditional H323 or SIP endpoints to be able to join a Zoom call. So you don't have to get rid of your older endpoints. We're not like other vendors that have to say, you have to rip out what you have today. You have to replace and you have to move to a Zoom room. You don't have to do that. We will work with older Cisco endpoints, all the poly endpoints, gay links, you name it. We support most technologies that are out there today already. Apologies, I just had another call coming in. Let me just go back. We then have what we call, I've already spoken about Zoom events. I see it's separate here, my apologies, but it is part of our webinar portfolio. So I'm not going to cover that again. I think the last part that I want to cover very quickly is what we call Zoom apps. And Zoom apps, we do in one of two ways, okay? We do it by what we call API, and we do it by what we call SDK. Now, API, very simple. API means that natively out of the box, we integrate with multiple different technologies. An example I always like to use is Salesforce.com, okay? So if you are an organization that sells Salesforce today or is using Salesforce, we can integrate Zoom into Salesforce for your organization. What does it mean? That means that your organization will use Salesforce as a single truth for everything they do today. That means that they can use Salesforce to log tickets, do calls, do everything else. But in the end, you are also able to do a Zoom meeting or a Zoom call directly out of your Salesforce application that you have today. You don't have to leave that application. You don't have to go to your Zoom application. You can do Salesforce directly out of that application. Okay. Salesforce is just one of the applications we do it with. We do it with Dropbox. We do it with Microsoft themselves. And I know a lot of you are going to say, but why with Microsoft? And I'm going to get into that in a bit. And I'm just going to talk around that landscape itself. Okay, so that's the first part. The second part is software development has grown tremendously over the last couple of years. Okay, and we have got what we call an SDK program. And what our SDK program dictates is very simple. You bring us an app and we will integrate Zoom into that app. So that, for example, is an app that you have developed, that you are taking to the market in the Nigeria space. And an example I like to use is, imagine a banking app. If you've gone and developed an app for a bank, or the bank is using a particular app to be able to talk to its customers, to be able to talk to its partners, all of those type of things. Imagine Zoom being white labeled and branded as the video calling platform behind that application, or the video calling platform behind that application. And an example I'm going to use today around that particular thing is either the Royal Bank of Scotland or HSBC. Now, what HSBC have gone and done is they've gone and taken an app where they've enabled video banking, and they're using Zoom as the back end for their video banking app. So me as a client of HSBC is able to open up my HSBC app, able to see the availability of an agent, and able to call directly to one of those agents using their own app. Not leaving the app, using the HSBC app to do a video call or a voice call directly into an industry expert, a service expert, a home loan expert, whatever you choose to. So our integration in the back end will allow that app to integrate into multiple different facets of that business's workflow. An example, that if that business wants to integrate it into their contact center, they can integrate it into their contact center. If that organization wants to integrate it into Salesforce, because that's the tool they're using, they can integrate it into Salesforce, and they can integrate it into the contact center as well. So we can do multiple integration touch points for that app to be able to do multiple things in that organization. Okay. The last part on app is that we've got what we call app marketplace, and that gives both our customers, our channel, our partners, our distributors, the ability to develop their own apps on Zoom's app marketplace. Now, that is no different to how you could develop today on AWS. That is no different how you could develop today on Microsoft, on Amazon, on all of those different platforms. But you can develop on the app marketplace your own app, and there's a program associated to that. Or you could develop on the app marketplace to further enhance what Zoom are doing from a unified comms platform. So I've spoken in length about everything we offer, but I've also showed you the fact that we're not just a UC platform. We are more than a UC platform. Okay, we're not an app anymore. We are now a platform that can do multiple things for you as an organization. Now, when I spoke about integration and when I spoke about other touch points, API, SDK, all of those type of things, none of our competitors do that today. So that's one of the first and foremost reasons of why and how we have differentiated ourselves from our competitors, right? None of our competitors will allow you that open APIs, that integration and all of those type of things. So when you look at the likes of WebEx, when you look at the likes of Microsoft, yes, we compete with them from a UC perspective, but when you're talking about taking your business to the next level, when you're talking about integration, touch points, and when you're talking about all of those, we're the only platform that can do that today. Okay, so that's the first thing of how we differentiate ourselves from our competitors. The other things that I thought I'd mention very quickly about our differentiator and why you would want to buy Zoom or why you would want to use Zoom in the marketplace, especially in Africa, is our ability to manage the bandwidth. Okay, so we manage bandwidth a lot better than our competitors do by using a different technology altogether. Okay, so we handle the bandwidth. You can do calls over the internet. You can do it on the MPLS. So that's the second thing. The third thing that I thought, I believe that is important is we're the only other technology out there that where you can do a hybrid approach to how you buy Zoom. So we can do what we call an on-premise, but it's a hybrid on-premise. It's not an actual full-blown Zoom deployment on-premise. It's hybrid. What does hybrid mean? Hybrid means we give you the ability to do Zoom within Nigeria, and we keep some of the data locally within Nigeria, and things like billing and everything else happens directly on the Zoom platform. So hybrid approach is absolutely possible with Zoom today. Okay, a full on-premise deployment of Zoom on the continent yet is not yet there. That's going to be JC and I's long-term strategy around whether we're going to have a local instance in Africa. And I guess that's going to come with the growth strategy within Africa. So once JC and I are at a point where we've grown Africa to a point, Zoom will absolutely look at the strategy for a local presence in the region. Okay, we're not there just yet. So that's the whole portfolio except for phone. Okay. Phone, I wanted to cover separately because it's an important part of our strategy going forward. So what is Zoom Phone? Very simple. Zoom Phone is our cloud-based PABX, our cloud-based telephony offering. Okay. Again, it is not a separate application. It is part of your standard application. It is just purchased as a separate license. Okay. And you can do it today in one of two ways. And that's going to lead me on to my next slide. Okay. Now you can purchase it today as what we call in Zoom native, or you can purchase it in what we call bring your own carrier. Now, native today is not available in Nigeria. Okay. Native today in Africa is only available in South Africa. And we've launched the program in South Africa about 18 months ago. But I'm just going to give you some idea what native means. Native means that Zoom becomes your service provider. That means I can deliver a telephony platform to your organization, or you as a reseller can deliver a telephony platform to your end users. Okay, where I can do things like own the number, port the number, do everything that a service provider would do. We can do that. Again, not relevant to Nigeria yet, but we've grown from 12 countries to 47 countries in 18 months. We've got a whole lot more regions in data, and we absolutely believe that the African continent, if from a competition perspective and from a legal perspective and all of those things, we are going to be able to deliver native in other African countries. It is absolutely part of the roadmap going forward. Okay. So what does it mean for Nigeria? That means we can deliver Zoom telephony, so only the PABX portion to our Nigerian partners or our Nigerian customers, and the local service providers provide the breakouts and provide the telephony portion of what we deliver as Zoom. So unlike the native, where we do both the telephony portion as well as the PABX, the telephony portion and the PABX portion, in this instance, we can only deliver the PABX portion, and partners that deliver voice services in the country are able to deliver the bring your own carrier service for their customers. Okay. Now, the model is very simple. The model is we either can terminate on a customer's SPC directly, or we terminate on the carrier's SPC, and the carrier is able to deliver that to their customer. Okay, and that's how the model works. Around both these services, we absolutely can offer you, trials around everything that we do. We can offer you to try the bring your own carrier service natively in Nigeria. It doesn't really matter, but we can offer it as I want to try the service. I want to see how the service works, and I want to move my on-premise PABX or my existing cloud PABX to Zoom, essentially. Okay, now I've covered a lot. I'm just going to go back to the slide because what I'm going to talk about, Edward alluded to earlier. How do I save money as an end user, and how do I make money as a partner, as a channel, all of those type of things. Everything that we do is licensed, so it's simple. We've got multiple license models. You can make money by selling those licenses, but the end users can make money by buying licenses in a different way. So everybody thinks buying a single license is the way an organization would buy a licenses. Large enterprise wouldn't buy in that way. Large enterprises, for example, would, if you're 1,000 user organization and you want to give everybody a Zoom licenses, you absolutely can do that at a fraction of the price that you would buy one license for. So what I'm saying is that we've got different license models. We've got different ways of licensing the different aspects of what we deliver from a Zoom perspective. Okay, so why Africa? And I think JC covered some of that, but at Zoom, Eric's futuristic approach is Africa is the place for growth. Africa is the place where he believes this product is best suited because of the way we handle the bandwidth, because of the way we do things, and all of those type of things. But absolutely, we believe long-term that Zoom is important for the African continent, okay? Again, like I said to you, I joined 18 months as one person in the region. We've grown the region. Two things to touch on very quickly. We are changing. So I guess, and Edward had this question for me earlier on in a conversation, and I guess this question is going to come up during the call. But why would a customer or an end user not just go onto the Zoom portal and purchase a Zoom license directly? That is not our model going forward. Our model going forward is absolutely through distribution. And we've already appointed a distributor for the African region. And we've also appointed a distributor out of the Middle East. So our strategy going forward is distribution and channel. And we want to help our channel grow the regions. And we want to help our distributor grow the region. Okay, so there always is going to be a customer that wants to purchase directly or wants to buy online. That is going to be available. But strategy-wise, it is channel and it's distribution. Okay, so I'm gonna pause there and ask. Sorry, stop sharing that for a second, and ask if there's any questions.
All right, thanks a lot, Ramesh. Detailed presentation. I mean, with what you've done today now, I'm sure a lot of people have seen that Zoom is much more than you think. So let's begin to entertain the questions. Already people are raising up their hands here. Let's get the question from David of Arago. David, go on.
your presentation. So while you were presenting, you made mention of a hybrid approach for your product solutions itself with regards to you mentioned bandwidth management and integrations, which makes you stand out to the UC. So under the on-premise, you said hybrid approach, and that you have some services that will be stored locally in Nigeria, and the other part would be probably native data in HQ. So I just needed you to expatiate on that. So when you said the hybrid approach has two models, the on-premise hybrid and the native approach. So under the on-premise, you said some part of the data will be stored in Nigeria. So are you saying more or less Zoom will have like a cloud service here in Nigeria? Because I mean, like you rightly mentioned, there's no other way of selling it. Everything is just licenses. So that's the first part of my question. The second part you mentioned was under the Zoom phone. So you rightly mentioned that the native is not currently present in our region, Nigeria. But you have the phone that's available in. Yes, bring your own carrier, right? And you said, so I wanted to confirm it because you mentioned something about the session border controllers, the integrations with the SBCs. So are you saying, for instance, you have an Oracle SBC now integrated within the customer's environment to have a KPX talk to a cloud service, telephony service? Are you saying your device will be licensed on that box, or it has like maybe the API integration with it? So two questions in one. So the first is, you said your data is being stored in Nigeria. So how is that? Is it that you have a cloud service that's not hosted here in Nigeria? The second is the bring your own carrier. How does that work with the SBC?
All right, thanks, David. Pamela, did you get the question?
I got the question. I just want to make sure. The first question was around the hybrid approach. Is that correct? And how we doing the hybrid approach? So the answer is very simple. Okay, so we know that our closest data center to Africa at this point is in Europe, right? So everything that we do from a Zoom perspective resides in Europe. Okay, and that might pose challenges for organizations that have got. And I'm going to give you an example, right? Maybe I must use an education example, and that will maybe answer that question. Is that the question? Just yes or no? Is that the question?
Somewhat. Yes.
Okay. All right. So the answer is the hybrid approach means that we'll sort of build a semi-instance within the local region, within your data center, and that will give you the ability so that not all the information that you process on Zoom leaves the country. So things like signaling and all of those things will remain locally within Nigeria, right? Whereas everything else that's attached to how we deliver Zoom, for example, billing, for example, webinars and phone and all of those things will not be able to be done locally. So the hybrid will give you some flexibility about keeping the data locally. So you don't have to, lots of data doesn't have to leave the country, but no, it is not a full instance of Zoom within the region. Now I'm going to give you an example of what I'm trying to say, and hopefully this answers your question. Let's assume you've got a large university. Now I think it's important that I state this to you. So we've got a university or we've got an education license model, right? And we've got two models in that space. The first model states the following. The first model states that if a university wants to buy licenses, they can buy as little or as many licenses as they can at a preferential rate, right? The second model states that if the university wants to buy licenses, they can buy licenses, but they can also give every student in that university a license for free. Now, I'll give you an example of two universities that have already gone and done Zoom within the region. One is University of Ilorin and one is University of Lagos, okay? Now, Lagos University, even though there are only 5,000 lecturers or faculty staff members, wanted to purchase 5,000 Zoom licenses, but wanted to give 50,000 students each a license as well. So that means that we've given the university 55,000 licenses and charged them for 5,000 only. So number one. Number two is that they saw that's going to be a challenge because imagine they have 5,000 concurrent calls at a time. They don't want all that information to leave Nigeria or leave their campus or leave wherever it is. They wanted to keep the local part of it locally within their local data center, and everything else in the back end we do from a Zoom perspective. And it's because of the impact of that they would have either on their internet line or their network or whatever the case may be. And that's why they wanted to do this hybrid approach. Okay, it's to help ease the burden of the traffic leaving the local country and moving everything, to Europe. So that's essentially, did that answer your question?
Yeah. Well, so
okay.
Who pays for the data center service?
Sorry, repeat that. I didn't hear that.
Who pays for the data center services?
The customer themselves. There is a model that we work with the customer with. So the customer buys the licensing and they use their own VMware to actually spin the instance up on.
Okay. Maybe that's clear, right? Okay, second question.
Okay. The second question, I believe, was around Zoom Phone and around SBCs. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So there are three ways of doing Zoom Phone with bring your own carrier, right? The first one is that if you are a service provider today, right, we can do what we call fat pipe, and we terminate on your SPC. Oracle SPC is perfect because we reside in all Oracle SPC data centers globally. So the first one is very simple. The first one is that you as a service provider want to deliver Zoom Phone to multiple customers. So what we do is we terminate on your SPC and you have a pipe that you segregate for different customers. So you could have one customer on there, you could have 5 customers there, you could have 10 customers on there. And all we do is we take a connection of Zoom onto your SPC and Zoom's SPC. That's what we do. That's option one, you as the carrier. You would then terminate on the customer's SPC to provide that service to that particular customer. The second option that you got is a dedicated SPC for that particular customer. So you don't want to do a fat pipe, you want to do a thin pipe per customer. You can absolutely do that. That means that we will terminate on multiple SPCs for multiple customers, and we will provide different customers a connection to a different customer SPC. And maybe if you give me a second, I will quickly share what that looks like for you technically. So you would have an idea. Give me 1 second, guys. There we go. Let me share this quickly. Okay, so that's bring your own carrier. So there's Zoom Phone sitting in the cloud. There's your traditional PSTN. There's your existing carrier. We would terminate from their SPC to your SPC and done. That's option one. And Zoom Phone to Zoom Phone. That's how we do it. Okay. Option two is brokered, which means that you become the carrier for multiple customers. And we do existing carrier to Zoom Phone, and then you terminate your multiple customers off this, essentially. Okay, so we've got a few different options available, and we can absolutely chat to service provider conversations tailor-made around how you want to deliver Zoom Phone in the region. But these were just 2 or 3 of the ways we potentially do it.
Okay, Tamesh, thanks a lot. David, I think this is fine. For more information, some more details of this, I think we'll take it offline after this meeting. I'll take from there. All right. Any other question?
Edward, I see there's 2 questions online. So for Precious quickly, Precious has asked an explanation of the webinar again. Precious, we are going to go into details around the webinar. So it will be explained in detail in the demo section, and the team will take you through that. So we'll come across that. Will Zoom redirect those who want to make direct purchase to the channel partners like other OEMs? Absolutely. So if you have purchased Zoom directly today and you want to move that to channel, you will absolutely be afforded the opportunity to do so. Yes, absolutely. So we would basically terminate your existing services, give you a credit, and you move your business to indirect, 100%. And a lot around why moving to indirect is going to be discussed later on by Johnny and team. So you'll know the reasons why you would want to move to indirect. Okay, those are the two questions I see. I don't see anything else.
Also, I think to answer this again, I think she's asking, will Zoom redirect those who want to make direct purchase to the channel partners like what OEMs do? I think the other part of this question is, if a customer wants to buy Zoom, today they typically buy online. So it's asking, because of the channel strategy, will Zoom be directing those guys to come through the channel partner so they can actually make some money? I mean, I'm sure that's what it's asking.
The answer is yes, absolutely. The answer is in conversation with the customers. Like I said earlier, we're always going to have some customers that want to work directly with Zoom. But our first answer to the customer is, will they work with a local partner in the region? And absolutely be redirected to the local partner. Yes, sir.
Yes. So that's actually part of the reasons why this event is holding, so that the partners will see that they can actually make money from Zoom, because the mindset of a lot of them is, oh, you can buy online, and that's it. No, not just that. I mean, you can do a whole lot. And that's why Proxynet has partnered with Zoom to actually launch this strategy in this region. Okay. More questions. Okay, let me get Chijike to take the next questions, if there are. For those that might have one-off questions remotely, they'll take it from there, then pick from there. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right, everyone. My name is Chijike. I'm the technical team lead for Proxynet Communications. So, all right, in this session, we're actually asking questions. So I don't know if anybody has any other questions, concerns. Is there anybody? Okay, all right. So, Maya.
Okay. Good morning.
Yes.
Sorry, please.
Your name?
My name is Victor. Okay. Excellent connections. With respect to the Zoom apps, you were saying something about integrating it being used with your own app.
Yes, you SDK.
Yeah, I want to know if it can also be linked to website, it can be used with the website. That's my question.
Okay, so you got the question. Okay, so concerning Zoom app, so he's asking, so on the side of the integration, can it be integrated to his web applications, right? Yes. So that's what.
Okay. So the answer is absolutely yes. There is a separate. So the way the SDK program works is that you would follow what we call our SDK program purchasing of licenses. Okay, so you don't buy licenses like you buy licenses today, where you buy a license for a user or you buy a license for multiple users and stuff like that. We've got a particular SDK program that you subscribe to. Okay, that program then gives you the ability to do development and testing of your app with our app. And really what we sell you then at the end of all of that is we sell you what we call a sort of like a concurrency model on the Zoom licenses, right? What does it mean? That means that a customer develops into his app and he then gets a pool of licenses or he gets a pool of minutes. So you can buy the license you can subscribe to the SDK program in two ways. Either you buy licenses for concurrency or you buy minutes. So when if you're using up the minutes, then you use up the minutes essentially. It's like subscribing to airtime on your mobile phone. The other one is, I'll give you an example. As part of the SDK program, we have you get 420 concurrent calls, right? Let's assume you got 420 agents, and all those 420 agents are all busy now, or every single one of them on a call. It means you have used your licenses up. But the moment one of those agents or two of those agents, end that call, that licenses go back into a pool and you're able to reuse those licenses. So it's a pooled license model based on the SDK program. Again, you can buy it in one of two ways. You can buy license count or you can buy minutes if you think you're going to do 1 million minutes a month, 5 million minutes a month, 10 million minutes a month. That's the way the program works. And it gives you the ability to integrate into whatever app, web apps, whatever you want to, totally up to you. But it is a different program from the traditional, I want to buy a Zoom license.
Okay, so I believe that answers your question. The first one is yes, you can actually integrate that there. All right, so thank you very much, Pamesh. So any more questions, please? Okay, fantastic. Yeah, go ahead, why not?
Good morning, guys. So I've been implementing Zoom almost a while now, and I kind of experienced something, I think, a few weeks ago. It's still ongoing. The room has been in use for up to, I think, 7 months. But during recent meetings in recent weeks, once the meeting goes like into 20 minutes, and mostly when you share content or decide to do anything other than just let the static meeting run, the meeting freezes a lot. So what I did several times was to sign out, try it on other platforms, majorly PCs, and it actually worked. This setup is an Intel NUC setup. So not just Zoom that's running on it, we also have other applications. But at the time in which I use Zoom on it, I don't have any other app running on the Windows PC. So it freezes up a lot. So I've tried troubleshooting it, but knowing that most times when I test another scenario, it works very fine. So I don't know, I've checked the FAQs, I've actually checked on the support groups, I've done a few steps, such as I think restructuring reconfiguring the outputs, the encoding, the transcoding settings, but still it still gives the same issue. I don't know if you could have a guide on that.
Yeah, so the short answer is no, I can't give you an answer because there could be 100 things wrong or 100 things right. I'm not 100% sure. What I will do is Johnny and Matthew and myself will maybe give you a call after this and try and take you through maybe some of the stuff that we're doing. So just share your details in the chat or share your details with us, and then somebody will come back to you and try and problem solve and take you through what the issues may be. I honestly can't comment.
Yes, okay, so basically you just share the issue and then we'll actually pass it on, because actually, like I said, a lot of things can, all right. Okay, so we have any other question here from the people seated? All right, we have a question on the chat. It said, can Zoom operate as a standalone contact center solution? Standalone contact center solution.
Yeah, so the answer is yes, and the answer is no. Okay, so depending on the functionality that you're looking for, Zoom Phone today has over 450 features as it stands. Okay. So if you're doing basic contact center functionality, the answer is yes. Okay. If you are doing very advanced stuff, the answer is no. But we natively integrate into third-party contact centers as well. So things like Avaya, things like Genesis, things like RingCentral, Five9, all of those. So we can do an integration touch point depending on what you're looking for. We need a bit more understanding and a deeper dive to understand when you say contact center, what do you mean? But the answer is yes, and the answer is no. Might be some integration, or we might just say no, we can't do it. So really, outbound doesn't seem to be an issue at all. We cover a lot of what outbound contact center does, but inbound could pose some challenges, and therefore we do the third-party integration.
Okay, thank you very much, Pamesh. The next person says, do existing Zoom customers have to go through channel partners for license renewal?
Yes.
Edward's given the answer. So, with our strategy, the answer is yes.
Yes, that's actually why we're here. like the Lagos State University that he talked about, bought thousands of licenses. I mean, when it's time for renewal, we should, should come through the channel. So
sorry, just this is just
channel's going to give you the ability to transact in a local currency, number one. It's going to give you the ability to interact in different ways, to different methods of payment, to do all of those things. So my recommendation is look at that. It might outweigh the fact that you want to do an online purchase, because you've now got, and Johnny, I'm going to cover a lot in depth around the support you guys are going to get and all of those things. So it absolutely makes sense to move to channel and distributor going forward, 100%.
Okay, so, all right. Bayo, do we have any more questions on the?
Not even on the line, then John.
Okay, all right, fantastic. So let's take the next session. Johnny, are you ready?
Sure. We can go ahead.
Yes, please.
Okay. Thanks, Pomesh. Thanks, Jean-Claude, for earlier as well. They actually were very good in their presentations, and they did actually touch on a lot of topics that I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on. Just to give you my history, I've been 12 years in the audio and visual industry, not necessarily the UC space itself. Before, we used to look after your standardized H323 SIP end solutions, the old school way of doing video conferencing. Now, with Zoom coming in, I decided 2 years back, I saw how disruptive Zoom has been to the market and to the industry. So I decided to also join the Zoom team locally here in Johannesburg. So I'm from the Zoom distribution channel. So let me get into my presentation for you guys. Okay. If there's any questions, feel free to ask it. If there's something urgent you want to ask and you might not remember towards the end, feel free to stop me along the way and you can ask your question. If it's something that I cannot answer, then Pomesh or Jean-Claude will jump in to assist with that as well. Okay, so the two topics that I will be touching on today is support and Zoom room dynamics. And as Pomesh mentioned, and I saw a couple of questions come on with perfect timing just before I started the presentation, surrounding why do you want to go channel rather than direct, and this is very important topics to answer those questions as well. And the two topics that I've picked for today is also very important to keeping any business proactive and obviously not waste the IT resources into small issues as well. Okay. Get into it. Okay, so on the agenda, I've got the value-added support offering. So I'll just be quickly touching on the value-added support that is only available through channel and not direct. Okay, so that's one of the key ingredients to why it doesn't make sense to go direct and why it more makes sense to go channel. Okay. Then we will quickly touch on utilizing the support offering itself. How do you connect to it, how easy it is, and how flexible the system works on our side. Zoom room benefits, that's the second area where we will be touching on, where I'll be going into a little bit more detail on Zoom rooms. And then we'll look at the use cases for those Zoom rooms, and then the features. We'll take a little bit of a deep dive into the features of Zoom rooms. Now, there is a lot of features involved with Zoom rooms. So if there's some topics, the information that anyone requires afterwards, please reach out to Proxynet and we'll gladly send you any information surrounding Zoom rooms in detail. Okay, value-added support. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why you would want to go with channel rather than going through to renewing your license directly as well. And that essentially what we provide is a dedicated Zoom support team. Now, currently that support team is available from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Nigerian time. In the future, that will probably change to over the weekends or longer time period as well. But currently it's available from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. every workday. The team provides live video support for training and troubleshooting. Now, that is very, very important, because if you are going direct, you work on a ticketing system. So essentially, you have to log a ticket with Zoom US, and then you have to wait for that ticket to be processed. And depending on the day, it really depends on how quickly that ticket's processed, depending on how busy the support team is from Zoom US. Here, it is a live connection that you can just type in, and anyone from your organization can connect directly into one of our support agents that will then be able to guide with training purposes, that will be able to guide with any support issues. And from an administrative point of view, they'll be able to assist the administrators of the accounts to add licensing or make any plan changes itself. So the team is fully Zoom certified. All of the team members have been trained and fully certified through Zoom. They are currently with Zoom Phone being a new one. I know a lot of the members are still working on their Zoom Phone certifications, but majority of them have already completed their certifications on Zoom Phone as well. It is easy to connect for any user inside your organization, and I'll show you just how easy it is now in the up and coming slides. There's no additional costs, and I think this is very, very important. It's a value add service. So for it doesn't yeah. So sorry. Not having any additional cost to the support is obviously a key ingredient to the success for channel itself. The turnaround time I've touched on, that you go into a ticketing system, whereas with our support, it's immediate connection to the team, and they'll immediately provide you some guidance. What's most important is it allows you to take control of your Zoom account, so it doesn't feel like you in someone else's hands in managing your account itself. Okay. The team also does provide additional white glove service offerings. Now, these offerings can be extended for webinars or events where we can offer a dedicated support member to schedule the webinar, be there during the event itself, and obviously assist in the background and make sure that everything works smoothly and that all the settings have been done effectively for the event itself. So to get some pricing on that, simply contact Proxynet, and we will work on pricing for that, as it is a case-by-case situation. Okay, just to show you how easy it is to connect. So from your desktop client, if you open up your desktop client, you simply press the join button and you type in zoom.support. That will immediately connect you to the support team. And this can also be done from the web client as well. So I'm just using the desktop client as the example here. What to expect when you join the call? Here you'll see a group. I'm not usually in the call. Usually the other members are, but I had to take a screenshot somehow. But Matthew, you'll meet later as well. You'll be doing a little bit of the Zoom webinar demonstration for us. But when you join in the call, there's a couple of members ready to assist with any support queries that you may have. As you can see here, we had Zantel HQ Boardroom that dialed in on the day, and Matthew assisted them with a camera issue they actually had, where we figured out it was just an update that needed to be run on the solution itself, and we remotely pushed the update to the solution for the team, which then resolved the issue in turn for them. Okay, so Zoom rooms. Just quickly, any questions so far?
Any questions? Okay, Johnny, I think you can continue.
Okay, sure. Let me continue. Okay, for Zoom rooms. Okay, so as mentioned, I started back in the industry about 12 years ago, doing the old school way of conferencing deployments. And this is what I really want to touch on as to what has changed over the last couple of years and why Zoom is the go-to, Zoom Rooms is the go-to these days. So looking back at the conferencing solutions that we used to deploy, you used to look at putting down a codec of sorts in the room. You used to look at the camera, sometimes came as additional, and then all the accessories additional to that, and then having to deploy your displays or your physical hardware environment. And then on top of that, it also required licensing for certain features like high definition. You required licensing to enable those features as well. Dual screen, you had to purchase licensing to enable those features as well. So the solutions really didn't make sense back then. It was very costly to deploy. And in fact, today's solutions that you can get with a Zoom Room is about 3 times less expensive, even from a hardware deployment point of view, than previously. Also, what was those same solutions wasn't user-friendly at all, where today's solutions obviously are very user-friendly. Now, I remember back when we used to do these solutions, you had to bring in a programmer, you had to get an external user interface and a touch panel that needed to be coded specifically for the environment that it's been in there. And once that coding has been completed, it really became a big learning curve for users to even operate the system for the boardroom. Now, with Zoom Rooms, they have standardized on your user touch panel, and they've really simplified the solution as well, which then, in turn, makes it more available to all members within your organization. Previously, those type of solutions was only used for high profile meetings, executive meetings, or high profile weekly meetings, which really didn't make sense from a productivity standpoint of view for the business. And now, everyone within the organization can use it, because the trend that I've seen over lately, because of the budget that now gets allocated towards these rooms, instead of purchasing one very expensive boardroom that can only be used for high profile meetings, now there's budget available for 4, 5, 6 other boardrooms, which then can be used by your everyday employee. Also, the deployments for these solutions was very daunting and very challenging. As mentioned, all the components that I just spoke about that you had to include, programming, and then figuring out how the layout would work for this has always been a challenge within the industry. Inexpensive with Zoom, you'll see, and I believe Parmesh and Jean-Claude also touched on that, is you can utilize any range of product sets with Zoom, which then causes the solution to be a lot more inexpensive, and the licensing behind that just makes a lot more sense to rather go for the Zoom Room route. Okay, so and then for hybrid environments, I know that used to be always an add-on additional license that came at a top premium. So beyond your hardware components, just to enable your solutions for hybrid, you used to need to purchase a license. These days, with Zoom Rooms, it's obviously all inclusive into that. And I'll go into a little bit of the features as well with a later slide onto in depth on the Zoom Rooms as well. Overall, it just was impractical to utilize your H323 SIP endpoint solutions. Today, it makes a lot more sense, also because Zoom is in constant development. So you'll constantly see firmware versions coming out and being released, and then being updated, which release new features and new functions, which was previously non-existent with the solutions. Okay, positioning for Zoom Rooms. essentially, you can position it in whatever environment with a little bit of clever design. You can position it within any environment within your office space. So I've listed a couple of examples here, you know, your executive and focus rooms, huddle rooms. Huddle rooms I feel is very important because you can utilize a whiteboard functionality with the huddle room itself, which then really creates a brainstorming environment within your huddle spaces. Board and conference rooms, which is your standard conference rooms throughout your organization that any employee can then utilize. And then it even goes up to your auditoriums or your training solutions. For, you know, training rooms can be daunting, but it can be done through Zoom with a little bit of clever design. I'm sure the Proxynet team and myself will also be in contact for any design requirements that in the future.
Yes.
Okay, Zoom room use case example. So yeah, I've just shown a couple of use cases for Zoom rooms that you can include. So which is phone booths, focus rooms, huddle rooms, webinar and broadcasting studios, all hands and training rooms, executive boardrooms and conference rooms. Okay, so Zoom room features that is included with Zoom rooms, and not a lot of people are aware of Zoom rooms, but not a lot of people are aware of the added benefits that you essentially get with Zoom rooms and how disruptive Zoom rooms has been to the market in general. So HD video and audio is automatically included. As mentioned previously, you would have had to purchase a license to enable that. You know, so that is automatically included with any Zoom room purchase. Then digital signage itself, apologies. Digital signage itself is actually, you can purchase one Zoom room and you can have digital signage deployed throughout your entire office space, which is very, very disruptive. You know, you have to purchase for this digital signage solutions out there, you have to pay a premium for your displays and the technology to put in, and then add additional licensing on top of that. With Zoom rooms, that's already included. You know, so digital signage was a completely different sector to your boardroom space itself. Now it's included into your Zoom room licensing. Wireless sharing, you can share wirelessly, you know, from any laptop or any mobile device to the display. And previously, again, you know, you had to rely on alternative hardware to make this possible, like the barcode click share, for example, just to throw out one name. But with Zoom itself, this is all included into the Zoom room license as well. One touch to meet or to schedule, as simple as integrating your room into your calendar system, and then being able to schedule it via your existing calendaring system, and then going to the room. And it's as simple as pressing one single join button to operate the room. And that really boils down to the simplicity that I was talking earlier about you know, how complicated the rooms were versus how simple it has become. Zoom rooms scheduling. Now, this is also another big value add for purchasing a Zoom room licensing. And previously, this was also done as a separate component to your rooms itself. You can essentially put a display or a little small touch panel outside your boardroom, and that can integrate with your boardroom and your calendar system to show the occupancy within the boardroom space itself. Previously, you had to pay a premium to do this. Easy remote management, and I know Matthew will touch a little bit on the portal in the demo section as well, where he'll show you how easy it is to remotely manage your devices within your Zoom room itself, and how to push updates and software, and to see the status of the boardroom. It is also noted that you get a dashboard function with your Zoom rooms, so you're able to see the usage of those boardrooms and plan out your next fiscal year for for upgrading more rooms within your organization. So you're really not wasting your investment, by adding rooms that it's not necessarily required at that point in time. Okay, then lastly, for your legacy devices, and I know I've spoken a lot about why legacy devices is not the route to go, your H323 SIP solutions, and it definitely isn't. It is definitely recommended to upgrade it to a Zoom room for the added benefits and the added features that you get with a Zoom room. But there is still an option available to purchase your CRC or room connector licenses to integrate your legacy Polycom solutions, Cisco, whatever it might be, into Zoom rooms itself. Okay. Any questions?
Thanks a lot, Johnny. Wonderful presentation. I mean, with one Zoom room license, you get video conferencing, you get signing, you get wireless presentation. I mean, everything all in one, That's a big value for customers and also for partners. So now the next session, that's I guess we are ready for the demo, the virtual demo session.
Okay, just give it 1 second. I'm just bringing in Matthew for that demo section quickly.
Okay.
He's on the call, John.
Okay, so sorry, I wasn't aware he joined already.
He's on, yeah.
All right. Matthew, you ready?
Yes, I am.
Fantastic. All right, let's do this. Sorry, but there's a question there. Okay, there's a question. All right, by mind, let's quickly look at the question. It says, does the license cover all features? Does the license cover all features?
Yes, so all the features that I mentioned with a Zoom room license, it covers all the features that I mentioned. Now, just make the distinction between the base license Parmesh also talked about, which is a standard pro license or business or enterprise license versus a Zoom room license. So Zoom room is an add-on license that you can purchase for any Zoom room to enable a Zoom room, but it includes all the features that I mentioned.
Okay, so there's a difference between the Zoom basic license and the Zoom room license. So we need to understand this. This is very important. Correct. All right. Any more questions? Okay. All right, Matthew, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Johnny. Hi, everyone. I'm Matthew Lucadonis. I'm from the support team that Johnny was mentioning earlier on. So what I'll be doing, I'll just doing a quick demo basically on the Zoom webinar and just giving you also just a little breakdown in terms of what you can do on the webinar, what you can do in the meetings, just a quick differences between them as well. And then also then just show you guys the back end, which is the portal that we work on in terms of scheduling, editing, and then also with the Zoom rooms that Johnny has nicely mentioned for us there. So what I'll be doing, I'll just be quickly sharing my screen for you. So I'll just be doing that. Let me just take controls there. And let's just get the main screen up here. All right. So as you can see, this is basically our Zoom webinar interface. Currently, we're in something that we call a practice session. So why this practice session is very, very important is that it gives the host and also all panelists. Panelists are also speakers, or if you're having someone that's moderating the call, then these people would all count as panelists. So what we do in these practice sessions is that we can start the webinar at any point beforehand, and all the attendees that is joining the webinar, they won't be able to join because we are in a practice session, which then you can share your screen, you can put on your video, put on your audio. This is basically just to test that everything is working 100% before you actually start the webinar itself, or as we say, go live. Because when you go live, all the attendees can actually start joining, and everything that you do will then be seen by the attendees. So once I go to the Zoom web portal, I will then just show you guys how to enable this practice session, and also where to click to actually start the practice session. So currently now in this demo, we are in the practice session now. As you can see, everything can be turned on and off there. We have all our features at the bottom, but before I even start with any of the features, I'll just click start webinar. And once I start webinar there, now you can see it says the webinar has started. So this session would currently be live at the moment. So if there was any attendees who was joining us, then the attendees would then be able to join in, and you would actually see them populate on the participants list. So I'll just quickly go through our participation list here just to show you guys what you can do, what you can't do, and then also how to manage this. So all the panelists would be under my panelist bar there. You can see I'm currently the host. I can make someone the co-host. And if someone is a co-host, they then don't fall under specific features or rules that we give all the other panelists. So you'll see in this little box here where you can see this ellipsis here. Once I click on that, it gives you as the host multiple options. I'll just quickly run through these options here because some of them are important, mostly for how the participants or the attendees are actually experiencing the webinar itself. So I'll just go to this one here first, which we will then allow panelists to unmute themselves, because if this one is not active, then your panelists who are supposed to be speakers doesn't have the right to actually unmute themselves. So this option here would always be available. I always wanted to click that on there. And then obviously we can allow people to rename themselves. This is mostly for in case someone joins with a cell phone, for example. Normally when people join via cell phone, it will give a Galaxy S10 name. So we can just allow people to actually rename themselves as well there. We have something called the lock webinar. So the lock webinar is basically just to close the webinar off completely. I personally would not recommend the lock webinar, mostly because people can leave the call for multiple different reasons. PC might go off, PC might freeze, network might be unstable, and they might leave. So then if we lock this webinar here, people won't be able to just easily go back onto the webinar. So I would not recommend that actually, unless you know that everyone in your webinar will not be leaving, because then you're just gonna have to unlock it and then lock it again. Then you can allow panelists to start video. So if I clicked it on there, if I had any panelists here now, they would be able to start their video. If these options are not ticked, keep in mind they cannot do any of these things here. Raise hand comes automatically. So this option here will always be available at any time. Then this is the most important one here, which is what we call attendee view. So on the attendee view, this basically just shows you what attendees can see. So in the webinar, normally attendees will be on the option that you can see that says follow host view. So this view comes from our view options here. So if I say follow host view, so if I switch this view at any time, then the view for the attendees will switch. This view does not count for panelists. Panelists can still change their own view and they can have their view in their own way, or in whichever way they want it. But for the attendees, we can actually fully control how they see the webinar and how they experience the webinar. So if I keep it on follow host view, if I change my ways there, then I can keep it that way. If I put it on speaker, it will always be in speaker view. We can't see the difference between the two views here because I'm the only one in this demo that I have here. If I have more than one person, we'll be able to actually see properly the two difference between our speaker view and our gallery views here. Right. If there's someone that you want to invite, this can be done on meetings as well. Just a quick one again. So in meetings, you will still have a participants list. So this participants list will still be here. You just won't have these two distinctions between these two different types of participants. In a meeting, you will just have participants and everyone's name down one column instead of down two columns here. These options, all of these options won't be here. Obviously, you won't have these attendee view, the allow attendees to, because there would be no attendees. These options won't be here. They will be in another section in the meetings. There will literally be a little security tab here right next to participants. And in the security tab, you can actually do all of these things that you can do in a webinar. You can control all of that just using your security tab, which would be on the left-hand side. So that's just one of the key differences between your meetings and your webinars. Right. So for attendees, if you was attendees here, we would firstly be able to see if someone has raised their hand. So the raise hand will then come in terms of who raised their hand first. So it will go through that order, or that will be the sort order. So whoever raised their hand first, that will be right at the top, second, third, fourth, and that's how it will go. And you will then be able to see all of their names here of the people who raised their hand. And in this attendees option here, you would then also be able to promote someone. So just keep in mind, normally you'll start the meeting by having panelists already. You would have your list of panelists, and I'll show you again in the Zoom web portal how we add those panelists. So you would have a set amount of panelists, but sometimes you want some interaction with your attendees, which is also the main difference between our webinar and our meetings. Our meetings is basically fully active in terms of people can unmute, you can unmute. Obviously, you can still control it to a certain degree, but it's way more interactive with everyone inside the meeting. While in the webinar, it's basically going to be more of a I speak, you listen type of environment, although we do have some exceptions in the webinar to allow a little bit more interaction from the attendees. So the first point of interaction we do have is what we call allowed to talk. So an attendee will have its name here. There would be a little more option here as well. So in the more option, you can then just click on more. On more, you will see there'll be an option that says allowed to talk. So then once you allow the person to speak, they would be audible then to everyone inside the webinar. So then everyone could hear them. They can then just click unmute. And once they unmute, we can obviously hear them. And then once they finish speaking, you need to then revoke that access of them to speak. So you just click on more again, and then you just revoke permission to speak. Once you do that, that attendee that you did allow to speak will not be able to speak anymore. You can just mute them, but muting them won't solve the problem because they can easily then just unmute. And then it basically defeats the purpose of you allowing them to talk and then revoking their access to speak again. Alternatively, you also need to promote them if you want their video to be seen. As attendees, you're normally not allowed to speak or put on your video. All you can do is normally use the Q&A, which I'll explain briefly. So then if you want them to have their video on, just so people can see them, you can actually then promote a normal attendee into a panelist. They will then be redirected from being an attendee into being a panelist, which they can then unmute themselves, they can put on their video, they can say what they need to say. And then you can also then just demote that person back to an attendee. So even though it is in the I speak, you listen, we do have some exceptions for that, which is mostly for if we need someone to actually take the floor and ask a verbal question instead of asking a question over the Q&A. That leads me nicely into going into our Q&A section right now. So you'll see at the bottom of my toolbar here, we have a Q&A. I'm just quickly going to discuss the differences between our Q&A and our chat here. So in meetings, we would only have the chat option available here. We do not have a Q&A in normal meetings, but we do have this in the webinars. Why do we have the Q&A here? This is basically a enhanced chat, because normally in the chat, you'll see that when people send messages inside the chat, it can be a little messy in terms of how you respond to those. If there are more questions, you actually need to reference who you are responding to if you are going to respond via text. That's why we do have the Q&A here. So in the Q&A, you can see we have 3 different sections here. We have our open, our answered, and our dismissed. So any open questions would arrive here. Who would be able to see this, you may ask? So the host would be able to see it. the co-hosts would be able to see it, and all the panelists would be able to see it. Depending on the settings that you have for your Q&A, you can choose to see if you want attendees to be able to see these open questions, or you only want them to see answered questions. This can be found in our little settings bar here. So in our settings bar here, I can say under allow attendees to view.
Sorry, like how many more minutes do we have for this demo?
I think we should have 40 minutes, 30 minutes.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Continue. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. So then you can also choose if you want people to have answered questions only, or people to see the answered questions only, or if you want them to see every single question that get asked, that can be done as well. So this is just to make it easier. So if someone asks a question here, the answer to that question can either be answered live. There will be a section that says answer live, which then you can answer the question live, or you can respond to it via text. Once you respond to it via text, you can actually respond directly to that question. And under the answer, you can see the question that was asked and the answer to that below it, instead of in the chat, where you would then have all the questions just jumbled up here. Another nice thing you can do with regard to the chat is that if you don't want Q&A questions to be asked over the chat, you can just click on that little dots there, and then you can just maybe type that attendees can chat to no one. So if attendees can't send any kind of questions, but you as the host or panelist would still be able to communicate to attendees by sending links or anything else through the chat. But then the attendees would then be forced to ask questions using the Q&A. And this is basically what we want from our Q&A. We want to take the chat away and make the chat mostly for communications from the panelist or the host for special things, and then just allow the Q&A for that interaction over text with all of our attendees. So I'll just switch from that there now. Another nice option we do have here, we have this in meetings and in webinars, which is our polls. You can feel free to ask any questions about polls at the end of this, because I will be dealing with polls and surveys as well. So polls come in a single choice or multiple choice format, where you can then set up a poll question. So as you can see, this is my poll question here, which is, can you see the poll? And then I have 3 different answers there for all of the attendees. I can also then allow my panelists to vote, because normally panelists cannot vote. Keep in mind, if you do have a co-host, the co-host will not be able to vote as well. So if you are doing any kind of polling, then I suggest that any co-host that you do have gets just demoted to a normal panelist, or just revoke the co-host rights, so that person can then be a panelist to vote in any polls. Keep in mind with these polls, these are polls you can download live. So once these polls are completed, you can actually download those polls, and it will then be downloaded in what we call a CSV format. And then from there, you can just change that from CSV into Excel. So you'll see once you launch the poll, this poll is currently in the webinar, so people inside the meeting won't be able to obviously vote on this poll here. But on this poll, you can then see the time that has elapsed for the poll. And you can also see how many people participated. And you can also see where these individual votes has gone. Once you end the poll, you can share results. Share results just goes to everyone. Or you can just go there to that little ellipsis again, and then just download the results from the poll there. Right, and that would be a poll. Keep in mind, you can have up to 25 different polls, and then have mini questions in each of those. So you can have 25 polls, and then 10 poll questions inside the main poll question. So you'll have one. So let's say we call the one poll 1. In poll 1, you can have 10 multiple questions inside poll 1. Those 10 will all be launched at the exact same time. And then if you go to poll 2, then poll 2 can be launched at a different time. So I will just be showing you guys as well how to just differentiate between the two, just so you don't make the mistake of having multiple polls. And keep in mind, this can happen in webinars and in the meetings as well. Just to show you that you can do it in our preferred way instead of the other way, which lets you launch multiple polls that you maybe want to launch at different times, and you launch it all at the same time. But I will just be explaining that process there. Then as in meetings, you can obviously do a normal share screen. The share screen can have anything you want on there. You can see all of the tabs you can have there. Our advanced options would then just be able to share specific things, specific audio, just a video, a PowerPoint. One thing to keep in mind when you are sharing, very important that if you are sharing anything with any kind of audio, a video, YouTube video, is that you just click the share sound button. I've experienced this a lot that people do not click that option first before sharing anything with audio. So you can just keep that in mind. Right, then the raise hand function is obviously just to raise your hand. These are mostly for the attendees. Panelists can also just utilize that option. We have our record button here. We can record in two different ways. We can either record on our local computer, or we can record to the cloud. This basically all depends on which you feel safer with. Some people feel safer just having that recording done on their local machine. Keep in mind, when recording to the local machine, you are limiting your sharing basically on how you can share it. Because with Zoom, when you record to the cloud, you can actually just go to the record option on your Zoom web portal, which I will be showing you as well. You will then just copy one link that you can send to everyone who needs to receive the link. You send them that little link. From that link, they open the link, and then they can actually see the entire recording. You can choose if you want them to see an audio transcript that comes with a cloud recording as well. The audio transcript does not come when you record locally to your computer. So in webinars and meetings both, we also have this live transcript here. The live transcript works better, obviously, depending on your accent, very much depending on the accent. Depending on your accent will depend on how this live transcript actually works. I normally just prefer to use the audio transcript that gets generated when you do record to the cloud. Personally, it is more accurate to use the audio transcript at the end of the meeting with the recording, because it has a bit more time and it's just more accurate in general. Depending on your plan, this can be the game changer for both meetings and webinars, which is what we have our interpretation for. Keep in mind one prerequisite for having interpretation. Firstly, you need to have either a business or above account, and then you also need to have a webinar add-on plan. So then you can actually have interpretation via your meetings or via your webinars. If you do have a pro account, you can actually just get a webinar add-on and you'll still be eligible for language interpretation. So language interpretation changed the game almost completely for us here, just so that we can actually have, especially when we're having these big webinar events and we have people from different countries speaking different language coming in, then you as the host would need to then get your own interpreters. Firstly, you need to choose people who would then do your interpretation for you. From there, they would then receive what we call interpreters links, which I will show you guys in the web portal there. But interpreters can also be added inside the webinar itself. So you can also choose custom languages here. So these are all the languages I currently have on my account. On your own account, you can then just add these languages. Normally Zoom comes with 9 languages, which would be from English all the way to Korean or Spanish, I think, yeah. So that's the 9 that it normally comes with there. And then these are all my custom languages that I added myself here. And you can add more languages there. I haven't seen a limit on the amount of languages that you can add, but there is basically a limit of how many languages you can have interpreted all at the same time. So you can have 5 custom languages. So of those, I don't know how much amount you can have for actual languages, but for actual interpretation, you can have 5 of that custom languages, and then also your native languages that comes with Zoom. So you can have these ones here with an extra 5 custom languages that can be done all at the same time, nothing more than 5. But then you can have that. You can then choose a specific language. You can choose a person who would be the interpreter. Once you have that person there, You will just click start. Once you click start, all the attendees would then see a big pop-up, or the pop-up would actually be here at the bottom, and it would show now interpretation is available. Once that is done, people can then just click on interpretation. They will be able to choose their specific language that they want to join in. Once they click on that, they would then hear the interpreter, who would be then listening to the main event in English, and then they would then do their own interpretation to whichever language they are interpreting to. And then the people inside the channel, we call it channels. So each language is a channel. Everyone joins a specific channel, and they only hear what's happening inside that channel itself. This is very, very helpful, especially for large events that you may have. So if you do have any further questions on this interpretation, because many people mostly have questions on interpretation when I do any kind of demo like this. So then you can just ask at the end of my session, you can just ask any questions on interpretation or anything that we've covered here in our demo section here. So last but not least, before I move on to our Zoom web portal, the last one would just be our live. This is basically how you can go live. You can go live on one of these at a time. So you're either going to do Facebook Live or YouTube Live. Alternatively, you can use a third-party application, which would then allow you to do more than one of these social networks and then go on their live simultaneously. All right. And that would basically be our Zoom interface. And now I'm just going to quickly step into our Zoom web portal. This is where most of the magic happens. This is the brain. This is where everything that you need to get done through Zoom, everything is done using the Zoom web portal. As you can see, I'm currently on the webinar that I just had there now. I'm currently on the scheduling page, basically where I schedule everything, where I have to put in dates and times, where I add my Q&A option there, where I add my practice session there, and where I can add any interpreters that I need to be added there. So I'm just going to quickly show you guys just a quick run around basically on how to go about this, especially when you do have what we call registrations enabled, because the registrations would make things a bit different, and it would actually give you a bit more options and flexibility in terms of the data that you collect from your attendees, because before you even start your meeting, you can collect a vast amount of data from your attendees. And I'll just show you where to collect all of those data, and then also where to pull those reports that will come at the end of your meetings and also your webinars. So we'll have our registration link here. The registration link is basically just the main hub where you would need to go for your normal registration. This is our standard registration, what the registration page looks like. You can edit this, you can brand it. You can have a little big banner on there, which would be there. And then you can also have custom fields, which I'll just quickly show you guys shortly. Right, so let me just minimize my own screen there. Right. So just quickly to browse through this, let me just quickly go to our questions. So these are the fields that you can have with webinars. And you can also have custom fields, which you can ask specific questions about anything. So I can say member number, for example, and I can make it a short answer so that people can actually type in the answer. And then I can just choose if I want the registration on or not. And then now this is my custom fields that I can ask. So you can ask anything. You have a large amount of questions you can actually ask all of your attendees. And these are the standard questions that we have available for you. So if you don't want to add any custom ones, we have normal standardized questions here. On the left-hand side, we choose our wanted question. On the right-hand side, we choose this is a required question that people would need to answer. Then we also quickly have our automatic and manual registration or approval. So from this approval, if someone registers, they can either get automatically approved, or alternatively, they would then have to, or you would have to then come onto the Zoom web portal here and then just manually accept them. I would only recommend manual approval if you are doing maybe something in the lines of where you need to firstly check how many people are joining. Obviously, you can see that from the registration numbers initially, but if you only need a certain amount of people to join, but also keep some scope for people who will be joining on the day, then I would recommend you use manually approve in that way. Manually approve also works when you are doing any kind of paid events. So you can either use the PayPal option that's embedded in Zoom, which we would have to get activated for you to be able to use PayPal as a payment method. You can also use PayPal outside of Zoom, where you actually go through any payment methods that you want people to pay for any events that you do have. So then once they pay you, then you can then come to the Zoom web portal and then just manually approve their registration. So you let everyone register, but once payment happened to you, then you can come to the Zoom web portal and manually approve them. Automatically approve would just be for any kind of event that you're having where there is no very tight restrictions on people that you need to join.
Matthew, it looks like we're running a little bit behind on schedule. I think we can do a little bit more in-depth dive, if anyone's got any questions after the session. If we can maybe just close up for the time being.
Okay, cool.
Thanks,
So
Matthew.
just to close up, I'm just going to touch on one thing that Johnny mentioned. So on our Zoom portal here, this is where we have our room management. So as Johnny mentioned, so for Zoom rooms, this is where you can then manage all of that. You can manage your Zoom rooms, any calendar integration done there, any digital signage, and any Cisco Polycom rooms that you do have there. And then just another quick one, your account management is where you can download all of these reports. So reports can be got here under the report section, and then any reports that you have for registration or anything after your meeting or webinar can all be handled there. Right. And that will be my presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Matthew. We'll go into the next section right now, which is the excitement section. Before I go there, let me just introduce myself for those of you that are joining. My name is Mike. I'm the Business Development Executive for Proxynet Communications. I'll basically be handling this section, which will be the price section. So as John-Claude mentioned earlier in his presentation, giving out some free licenses. I don't know if John-Claude, I don't know if you want to go through the gift items you want to give out again, just for those people that were here when you started the presentation. Would you want to go through it quickly?
Yes, absolutely. So again, thank you so much for everyone who has remained attentive, and thank you for interacting with us and engaging with us throughout the session. So we think, it's better to give what we use and what you find of use, right? And those are absolutely, the Zoom licenses. So we are looking at giving away at least nine different prizes. The first place we're looking for 3 people, second place 3 people, and third place 3 people. And the first prize is about 2,000 trial licenses, which is full licenses. Yes. So if you're a big customer in the room and you would like to deploy this within your organization, absolutely, please go right ahead. And then the second prize, we give you away 1,000 trial licenses, and the third prize will be 500 trial licenses. So I know you've been taking notes in terms of who has been engaging within the room. So I will leave it up to you to let us know what the outcome looks like for now.
Okay, so the criteria process is we're actually picking out from those people that ask questions. If you ask questions during the various presentation slides, then you're not. All right, so we have about 6 names right here.
Sorry, what about those that ask questions internally?
Internally and virtually, so we did the counts. So we have 3 people virtually and 3 people in-house. Am I correct? So let me just go through the names. So we have Mr. David from Rago. Maybe you should clap one. Wow. No, so I'm not actually selecting. Sorry about that. So that's 2,000
First three, second and third. We have Benga from Theo Leader. Let's come to Benga. Then we have Obia Ruko online UME. I actually don't know the name of your company. Can you just tell us the name of your company quickly? Mr. Obia Ruko, just the name of the company.
The name of the company is Network Planet Limited.
Sorry, come again, I didn't get that.
Network Planet Limited. Network Planet.
I like the force. When there's something big. I like the force.
Congratulations, sir. Congratulations. The fourth person right here on our list is Victor from ECN. Just after Victor. The fifth person right here is Assessor from 9PSD. And lastly, but not the least, Asemota promise Precious. Precious, what's the name of the company? Which company do you represent, please?
Is Precious still there?
Precious, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. What's the name of your company, please?
Network Planet.
Network Planet too? Network Planet. He asked the questions.
He asked the question.
Okay, we'll just figure out. Okay, so for the selection process, we don't have a formality yet. I don't know if we want to conclude on that right now, or we get back to everybody that we mentioned.
Yes, by email.
So we'll send you an email translating and telling you if you came first, second, or third. Well, either which way, you're winner, and congratulations to you.
Congratulations.
So congratulations to everybody. I mean, the fact that you're here today, that means that there is something very tangible to take away. That's just the fact, that's the truth. And I let us emphasize this, you know. It's very important that we understand the significance of what we're doing here today. That, I mean, Zoom has come to stay.
Yes.
And Proxynet has come to partner very strongly with Zoom to actually bring you this value-added services. I mean, look at what we're giving to you, the support. I mean, it's not just like he talked about the issue, he has been experiencing issues and all that. We are on ground to, you know, to have that face-to-face support and all of that. So it's not just, oh, I bought Zoom and I'm having issues, and we are there. And then, of course, as you know, most of us are actually integrators in one way or the other. You know that there are scenarios where I want to integrate this, I want to do this kind of boardroom. That is why we are there, to work with you and to support you and to make sure that, I mean, you get your, whatever you buy your licenses online, we can actually give you a better deal, because that's why we're here. That's why the channel is here. So let's understand this and let's ensure that, I mean, we take this up and we sing the same songs wherever we go. So, all right. So, yes. Are there any other questions, please?
I have a question. I have a question. My question is, I'm directing my question straight to Pamesh. Pamesh, why should I sell Zoom licenses as opposed to selling Teams?
Yeah, yes. Edward, I was hoping that question came from some in the audience, but I'm going to take it anyway, to be honest. So I think, you know, I think we've all covered some points. So I think that, you know, the easy thing to ask is, you know, from a price perspective, from an overall UC perspective, we're very competitive, right? We very rarely lose when it comes to price. And when I say price, I mean, you know, it's a cheaper solution, firstly, for the end users, so they can save money on their end, and there's an opportunity for channel to make money. You know, we don't do the, you know, the Microsoft route of you know, just selling a license and there's nothing in it for the channel. So absolutely, one is from a pricing perspective, we offer a very competitive solution. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that if you take, you know, and I'll do the Microsoft scenario as a starting point, right? If you take what Microsoft can offer you from an E1 and an E3 and an E5 perspective, it makes the solution of moving away from an E1 to an E5 very expensive, right? So don't get fooled by the fact that you're actually buying an E5 and voice and video is free. It's not free. You're paying a premium for an E5 services, whereas if you did, for example, an E1 plus Zoom, you could see significant savings across your organization. And an example is very simple, right? Let's assume you went with Zoom for voice and you went with Zoom for video, right? And you were a large organization, right? And you went with an E1 license from Microsoft. If you went with that scenario, your total solution from us and from Microsoft could cost you under $37. But if you went with an E3 and an E5, including voice and video, you're looking at anywhere between $53 and $57. So you can already see a significant saving around that. The second thing that I want to say now that I've spoken about pricing is we easy to deploy. So I'm going to give you an example, and I love using examples. So please just bear with me. Is that when we went into lockdown in the pandemic, HSBC approached us and approached Microsoft globally, and they wanted to roll out a solution for 220,000 people globally, okay? With Microsoft, and we all know this, it was possibly going to take them 18 months to roll out a full solution end to end. We did it in 6 weeks, okay? So our ability to execute is very quick. Our ability to get a customer up and running is relentless. You know, we can do that in practically no time. If any one of you went to John Claude in the next 5 minutes and asked him for a Zoom license, I guarantee you'll be up and running in under 4 hours. Okay, so our execution is very good, which means the following, which means that transition, transformation, and everything, you know, takes a lot shorter period with Zoom than it does with Microsoft or any of our other competitors, not just Microsoft. All right, and again, you know, that translates to monetary value. That translates to the fact that, you know, you're not going to spend lots of money on transition and transformation. You're going to spend a hell of a lot with Zoom. Okay. 2 or 3 other things that I mentioned and Johnny mentioned as well is, you know, with Zoom Rooms, you get more than just Zoom Rooms, right? So with our competitors, you have to use multiple partners to be able to deliver things like digital signage, scheduling, Zoom Rooms, and all of those other components that you're looking for. With Zoom, you don't need all of those. You don't need a wireless sharing device. You don't need a digital signage provider. So you're dealing with one provider that's going to give you an end solution at a fraction of the price that everybody else is going to do it at. And it's not just about the price always, right? It's about the ability to deliver it faster, quicker, and the ability for us to deliver a solution from a single vendor. So that's the other thing. Now, the third thing that I want to leave with you, and I can talk about 10 things, but I think the third thing that I want to leave with you, I guess, is our ability to integrate, right? If you are looking at taking your business to the next level, whether that's integration with your own app, or whether that's integration with apps that you use internally today, or whether that's wanting to do integration to contact center and all of that stuff, nobody can do that today except us, right? And just some smaller stuff, translation, all of those things nobody can do today. So I'm leaving you with those 3 or 4 things that yes. You can see for yourself.
All right, thanks a lot, Ramesh. Thank you so much, Ramesh. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Ramesh, thank you very much. Thank you so much. All right, so and there are a number of people who actually joined us while we're actually discussing. So I'd like to acknowledge you for joining us, for being here with us. Please, can we just know these people? Let's start with the people who are in the hall with us. That happens all the time. Yeah. That's it. Joseph Chateau from X1 Study. Fantastic. All right, you're welcome.
Hello everyone, my name is Andrea. I'm representing the student.
You're welcome.
Everyone, my name is Francis Okakola from Zoomtopia.
Yeah, Francis. You're welcome. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Adin Kaslani from FCMB.
Very good. Okay. You're welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Shirley Lawan from Kitchen.
And
My name is
then you're welcome. Thank you very much. Okay, so I can see okay, I can see Adito, okay, Adito Abdullah. No, okay, Abdul Fattah, okay, yes. Okay, can you say hello? Can you say hello to the people?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adito Abdul Fattah.
Okay. All right. I can see Adinka. Yes.
Hi, everyone.
Okay.
My name is Adenu Adinka from Ferrer System Solutions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Okay. The next thing is we have a buffet lunch for everyone that is here. Yes, and some physical gift items. But for the people joining us virtually, how do you now do your own? Virtually vaporize it so that you get it. I don't know how we're going to do it. Okay, so all right, we'll get to that discussion. So, Lovely, please can you tell us what is going to happen in the next session?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes.
So we have the restaurant downstairs, and we have a local dish and we have a dish. So please at me
as much as you can, eh? All right, so okay, so I really want to sincerely appreciate everyone who came, who actually graced this event. I want to appreciate the Zoom team, the delectable Zoom team, who actually supported us greatly for this event. And then
one word. Okay, all right, just before Chijoke wraps up this event, I want to thank everyone. Let me start with the people that came here physically. I want to really thank all of you for making our time to be here. Really appreciate it. We know the situation in Lagos is not today, but we still pull this to be here. Well appreciated. And I want to believe that you haven't wasted your time. For those of us that joined remotely, I want to say thank you. Some of us stayed through from 10 a.m. to this hour. People like Caesar Kamara, all the way from Abidjan. Caesar, the good news is that Proxynet also has an office in Abidjan.
Yes.
So we're going to put you in touch with our Abidjan team to see how we can support you from a Zoom strategy. For everyone that joined remotely again, I want to say thank you. To the Zoom team, Pamesh, we'll talk again, we'll discuss later. JC, appreciate so much your time, your presentation. Pamesh, your presentation, excellent presentations. Johnny, excellent presentation. Matthew, excellent presentation. The message was loud and clear. So this channel, everyone heard this message, everyone understood it. So the whole idea now is for resellers, let us go and push the Zoom strategy and grow the market for yourself, for Zoom. And I keep saying this, the VC market is one of the biggest markets as of today in the IT space. So we're lucky to have been part of this market, so let's grow it. And to the Proxynet team, you've done so well. Some of them worked here till late in the night, so it's 10:30 yesterday night, just to be able to, 11 p.m., just to be able to set up this infrastructure that we use today. Really appreciate you guys. Every one of us. to the sales team that have done so much, pushing this message to the market and all that, Mike and the team, I appreciate all of you. And then we do appreciate. Okay. Then let's appreciate God for giving us lives. Yes. To be here today. Because we could do all we would do without life. And if you fall sick, you can't be here. I mean, you really want to come. And you wake up in the morning, somehow, your tummy starts shaking. Somehow, you start sneezing. Somehow, you start shaking. You can't go anywhere. You really want to go there. So that's it. So together, all of us, we are thanking God for making us part of this conference. And I'm confident that together we'll grow this market, together we'll make money, together Zoom will also make money. Yes, I mean, you could see clearly that Zoom is much more than what you think. Yes. I mean, am I speaking? Yes. No, talk to me. Am I speaking? Yes. That's what I want to hear. It's much more than what you think. It's not just to wait 40 minutes and download and then you set up a meeting and you say, oh, come on, when you come on, you say, oh, I have Zoom. I use Zoom. No, you don't use Zoom. No, you don't use Zoom. You don't use Zoom. You know, so this is the message we want to pass across. And I'm glad we posted it as part of it. For the end users that joined, I'm sure they have their mind, oh, this is possible. Yes. So, sometimes they even have licenses. We they are underutilized. Yes. Because they don't have anything what to do with it. They don't think it's just to set up a meeting, say one or two things, meeting ends. And I'm using Zoom. No. So for me as a president, the day I understood this, I should go, what? We've been on with, I mean, you have so much that we're underutilized. So this is the message and strategy. And I'm excited that the guy from Ausbury here is here. I mean, because they're Polycom distributor is important. So because that synergy is very key. Yes, Zoom is partnered with anybody. Zoom is not a hardware company. And that's why I like them. Anyone you come, anyone wants to make a problem, it's also it's a win-win. Yes. As a matter of fact, we can come up with our own Proxynet equipment today, put some on it. And everybody moves on. Everybody's excited. So that's the beauty of Zoom, and together we'll progress. I want to say that thank you so much for this time. And I know that sometime next year, I mean, we're going to do more of this. We're going to do more of engaging, more of training sessions, more product-focused trainings, just to make us understand more and more what the offerings from a Zoom perspective are. So thank you. So we also have lunch and all that. Chijoke, Papa, to you. Papa, thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much. Can we put your hands together? Let's get up for yourselves. Let's get up for everybody. All right. Okay, so I'm going to call Paula Shadi to take us in the closing prayers. Thank you very much.
Amen. In Jesus' name, Father, we thank you for thus far you have helped us. We return all the glory to you in Jesus' name. We thank you for all the collaboration, all the relationship that we're going to have by virtue of this event. I want to return all the glory to you in Jesus' name. We pray that you take us to our various destinations safely in Jesus' name. In Jesus' name we pray.
Thank you very much, Paula Shadi. And all right, so I think we should take pictures. Take pictures before we go downstairs. I mean, because the moment we start eating now, you know. All right, so please let us all come together so we can actually take pictures. Please let us come to the front towards the screen. What remotely just be on. Yes, please don't sign out yet. Watch us take pictures so you can also be part of the picture at the background. All right, just watch us take the pictures. All right, please, can we come forward? And where we just and the press went around because of the press release. Okay, let's come together. Okay, let's come together. Then for the lunch for those that remotely joined, the lunch that Chido said, I don't know how you're going to do it. We'll vaporize it. Yeah, I will send it via Zoom. But if you log on very well, we will send it to you via Zoom. We'll Zoom it for you. All right, guys, let's
So after this, we'll turn the other way around so that Pamesh or JC, you can actually take a picture of us from there, yeah?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Let's do that.
Okay, so let's go. Thank you for coming. I mean, thank you. Okay, you should. Yeah, right. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
I'm just wondering if what we're doing so they can feel us, yeah? So they can feel everyone.
Beautiful.
So let me know when you're done.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you, everyone.
Thank you, JC. Thank you, Pamesh. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We're going for our lunch now, so you also have your own lunch.
We're working on a new way to deliver food over Zoom by the next conference. Don't worry.
There you go.
It's coming.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one. Thank you all.
Cheers, guys.
Much appreciated. Cheers, everybody online. Have a good afternoon.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Manuel. Thank you, Manuel. Thank you, Deb. Caesar, we'll talk about the phone. Thank you so much, Caesar. All right, then, bye.